Hello everybody and welcome to the 5th round of the 2004 Formula 1 World Championship. I'm joined in commentary today with Benjamin Wald.
Hello everyone.
We arrive here at the Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari in Imola, a track synonymous for being a driver's circuit, very difficult on every part of your car essentially, tyres, brakes, the whole works. You need a lot of aerodynamics, but also down the straights you also need a good car in a straight line. 62 laps ahead of us today, as well as the usual hour-long qualifying session. But before we do that, let's have a look at the practice results, in which once again Jarno Trulli topping the practice times by 0.3 of a second once again, fairly convincing, ahead of Fernando Alonso and Rubens Barrichello, both Ferraris in the top three, so it's looking good for Ferrari at their home circuit. McLaren of Kimi Raikkonen, current championship leader, is in fourth, ahead of Michael Schumacher and Giorgio Pantano. And the biggest news in the top 9, both Dams Lola Panelsers with that upgrade package that they've fetched. Fetching them both into the top 9, with Manassian in 8th and Furman in 9th. We'll see if they can back that up in qualifying. Pretty usual stuff in the second page, as well as the third page, realistically. With Sperifico, Baumgartner and Montero being the bottom 3. Was there any big surprises for you in that session, Benny?
Not really. It all seems rather normal for me, at least.
Yes.
Although the dams, the panos, they look quite, they could look quite good around here, considering that it's mainly a downforce dependent track.
Yeah, it seems that the Cosworth teams are a bit more competitive than what they have been in recent rounds, maybe due to not being as power hungry of a circuit compared to previous rounds. But if we look at the previous round, we can see that consistent results for Kimi Raikkonen. Despite not winning a Grand Prix so far this season, he currently finds himself at the top of the standings by a single point ahead of Giorgio Pantano. Thanks to his gearbox failure in Manicourt, he falls down to second. Rubens Barrichello and David Coulthard are both picking up some more valuable points for them in their quest. Well, I don't think either of them are really in the title fight, but they've managed to have some consistent results to both put themselves within 3 points of the championship lead. Michael Schumacher as well, with his first race victory of the season, sees him up to 5th place. Meanwhile, Fernando Alonso, more information on him, but he has got a race ban for this, not a race ban, sorry. Let me rephrase. He's got a suspended race ban. So we'll be sure to be watching everything that Fernando Alonso does. 14 drivers so far scoring points in the season, as Jarno Trulli actually scored his first points of the season after finally finishing in second position behind Michael Schumacher. 8 teams in the constructors standings so far scoring points. McLaren currently lead the way after taking Renault's championship lead at their home Grand Prix, no less, in the previous round. Ferrari on a watching brief in third, with BAR kind of falling away a little bit. Dan Weldon only scoring 1 point in the first 4 rounds means that BAR have started falling back a little bit. Then we've got Williams, Toyota, Brabham and the Red Bull Lamborghini teams all scoring points so far this season. Is there any more teams that you especially see to score points for the rest of the season, Benny? Or do you think it's going to be tough for the remainder of the team?
I mean, I think Panos might score a few more points around here, especially around Monaco. They might have to search for a better engine for next season. I do hope that Opel, although, will score some points, especially around circuits that don't require that much traction, like Monza, for example. I do think they could score points there, having seen that they are, even on tracks where power isn't too dependent, still can do quite good.
Well, you heard it here first. Dams, Lola, Panels and Opel probably the ones next. I would probably agree with that, in all fairness. Maybe if Jaguar can pick up the pace, and Honda as well. Ralf Schumacher is ever the capable driver in that car. He has been fairly close to scoring points in recent races. I think he scored a 9th place in Bahrain, I think it was actually. Which is a track heavy on engine power, so maybe Honda prefer those sorts of tracks. Nowhere clearly as much as Opel do, but without further ado, let's get into qualifying.
What surprised me a bit is that, yeah, as you said, Rose Toyota doesn't seem to be as consistent as they were last season. The drivers seem to make fewer mistakes, and the car itself looks just very hard to handle.
And we are seeing David Coulthard be the first driver out on circuit in the BAR. I nearly said Lamborghini. That's last season. BAR Audi out on circuit. The 2000 world champion that will hopefully be the first one to set a lap time in this qualifying session, unless he has some sort of mechanical problem. Welcome in everybody, by the way. Welcome in Nils, Svet, Captain Rage, Gallifreyan as well. Welcome in everybody.
Quite surprising how far David Coulthard has fallen off after his title-winning season. But to be fair,
he's had a pretty good start to the season.
He had a pretty good start. He had almost like, if it wasn't for Great Britain, Hungary, and Canada, he would probably have like 13 wins in a row or something. It's impressive.
Without further ado then, let's get into the news, where the main headline going into this Grand Prix is a driver transfer. Jenson Button has announced that he will drive for Williams in 2005, and that will be alongside Alexander Wurz if he can be in a Formula 1 car for the start of next season. Of course, he had that massive crash in French Grand Prix practice, apologies, as that means that Juan Pablo Montoya is going to be out of a drive as it currently stands, the Colombian looking for a seat elsewhere, with rumours of McLaren, BAR and Honda, I think it were, that were rumoured to possibly be in the fight for his seat. Benny, do you want to take us through the upgrades as well?
It's a lot of upgrades coming in for Ferrari. They are revising their front wing to reduce drag. McLaren and Williams are changing the philosophy on their car, mainly bringing drag reduction updates to both of their wings, something that's usually not happening in their cams. On the other hand, we have Dam Stoller, who are being a bit more aggressive. Getting a lot of weight off of the car with some drag reduction all around. I think lastly on my list is it's Boots, and they're bringing also a new wing, but not to decrease drag, but to increase downforce. Will probably help them a lot around here. Maybe we can see both Bootsons qualify for the race this time.
As we now see David Coulthard crossing the line to set the benchmark of a 1 minute 19.3. Ralf Schumacher is in the Honda. Oh my god! Stream Elements, it works! The Discord link doesn't work. I was about to send it anyway. If you want more information earlier on the news, such as the one, such as the articles that you've just heard, be sure to check out the Discord. Be sure to basically check out the Discord. Ralf Schumacher, second driver across the line. He sets a 1 minute 20.4. Another news article coming into this race weekend is that Marc Genet has been backed by Williams to stay in the seat for the next few races at least, although the Spaniard definitely needs to work on improving his pace, as Pedro de la Rosa fastest through the first sector, surprisingly. The first driver to be into the 1 minute 17s. It seems that he's massively struggling though in the more downforce dependent sector 2. Is a second down on David Coulthard through that section of the lap. Of course, this is where Opel scored their so far only points in Formula 1, courtesy of the driver on display, Pedro de la Rosa, where he scored a 6th place finish, albeit out of 6 drivers, and scored Opel's 3 only points so far in their career. Of course, with a much more capable car, it seems, this season, though we're hoping to once again be repeating it this season at some point. I doubt it'll be San Marino this time around, but we'll have to wait and see. Never say never in Formula 1, as De La Rosa slots himself between the two Hondas. Nicholas Manassian now goes to pole position, a tenth ahead of David Coulthard, so that's very surprising to see how much the Damslola panels has shot up the order. Fernando Alonso, meanwhile, is on a good lap. He's purple in both the opening two sectors. We'll have to see what this lap presents for the Spaniard. Obviously on a one race suspended ban that lasts for 3 races, so basically for San Marino Grand Prix, the Spanish Grand Prix, and the Monaco Grand Prix, he is under close watch of the FIA, and if he makes any more, if he creates any more incidents with other drivers that warrant a penalty, then he could find himself in hot bother with the stewards in terms of getting an actual race ban.
Yeah, it's certainly be interesting to see if Fernando can actually get himself together over the next few races.
And in the news, it was Flavio Briatore's actually come to his driver's aid in saying that Fernando is quite a natural driver and aggression is what happens, but still, of course he's going to say that if he's the team boss of your own driver, but you imagine that Alonso might take it a bit more easy for the next couple of rounds and just get his head down, score some points where he can, as Manassian went for back-to-back laps on that run, and he stays in second place, a failure to improve there from the Frenchman. Dan Weldon, I think he got held up a little bit by a car of some sort. That's Timo Glock that he's behind, and as such he goes last of the running order. Felipe Massa in the Red Bull is up next. He's currently behind a Boutsen, I believe that's of Shinji Nakano, so it's not looking too good to actually see a good lap here from the Brazilian. Gallifreyan has said, I'm not surprised he's ditching the Jag. I'm new here, and even though they've been woeful, yeah, they've gone miles backwards compared to where they were last season. Of course, this time last year, Giorgio Pantano claimed his first victory of his Formula 1 career in the Jaguar, no less. So it's been a massive step back for Jaguar so far. No points, not even looking close to scoring points. And I doubt Jenson Button is going to be scoring a race win once again at his home race in Silverstone, as Felipe Massa goes 7th, just ahead of Takuma Sato. Timo Glock's also on a lap. I think he's been overtaken, though, by Dan Weldon on this lap. And he goes behind his teammate by 0.8 of a second and puts himself in 8th position, just over 3 seconds away from the current provisional pole time of a 1:18.6. Ralph Furman's another driver out on circuit. Sorry, go
on. Maybe the Jaguars are quite decent around here. Maybe they have the same issues as the Panos we see on screen now. A lot of downforce, but nothing in the engine department. Yeah, it's quite shocking to see how bad they have fallen in just one season, considering how good their 02 and 03 seasons were. But I think with enough money and the backing from Ford, they will probably come back either by the halftime of this season or in 05.
Ralph Furman seems to be pushing it quite a bit on this first lap, as he's mounted the curbs pretty aggressively through the Variante Alta, now down towards the two Ravazzas, and the Irishman obviously with a lot to prove this season. Of course, to stay on the grid, he's going to need to prove himself to be Formula 1 worthy so far in his career, that's being the whole of 2003 and the first 4 races of 2004. The Irishman's actually not scored a point in his Formula 1 career, to his teammates 8 in that time. Manassian scoring on 2 separate occasions, I think it was, in 2003. Yes, this is funny, Imola, but I don't think it's going to be as funny as what it normally is, so yeah. Pitsonia is on a lap in the Brabham. He actually got an outing in practice for once, alongside Nick Heidfeld. And maybe that extra practice could possibly hone him towards getting a good result this weekend, more prepared into qualifying and the race. We'll see what this leads for Antonio Pizzonia. 3 seconds off the pace and puts himself behind De La Rosa, ahead of Felipe Massa. It is funny. Sorry, go on.
Pizzonia seems to be on the chopping blocks, as I've heard from rumors around the paddock. He has been doing decent, but it doesn't seem like the team wants to hold on to him, which is a shame. But maybe he can find a vacancy at a better team.
I will say with the AIW, there shouldn't be too many problems up at the Variante Alta. The pit lane, though, is fixed. The pit lane. There should be no problems down there, as Patrick Friesacker goes ahead of his teammate as well as Dan Weldon to go into 13th position. A team that's fetched new upgrades, a new rear wing to add to their downforce. However, it's not looking so good for them right now, as the team were in 26th and 27th in practice, ahead of only the Suminardis, of course, as well as the Toyota of Riccardo Sperrafico, who couldn't really string together many laps as an engine failure cost him a lot of track time. Across the line, though, for Jacques Villeneuve, a minor improvement for the Toyota man as he stays in 5th position. Kimi Raikkonen, though, purple through the first sector. We'll see how this McLaren can fare against the Renault of Fernando Alonso. Is a 10th up on the Spaniard through the 2nd sector. Just the suspension, Nils. And now into the Ravazza. Giorgio Pantano also out there, not quite as fast as Kimi Raikkonen through that first sector. And the Finn will now make his way towards the Variante Bassa, the final chicane on this circuit, and up towards the line for Kimi Raikkonen. It's pole position for him in the McLaren to go to a 1 minute 18.5. That's a 10th and a half quicker than Fernando Alonso. Giorgio Pantano's up next, and he's in the final sector.
Looking at this, I'm unsure who could be the pole man for today. Could be anything from anyone from the top 3 teams, probably. What is your view on it?
I think the extra boost of the Tifosi will possibly drag the Ferraris towards the forefront, I reckon. I reckon it'll be one of the Ferraris to take pole position today, as Giorgio Pantano, not a great last sector there, is actually within touching distance of pole position after the first 2 sectors. However, it seems he made some sort of mistake. The Italian nearly 9/10 down, I think it was, in the lap.
Well, the Tifosi certainly don't help with the reliability of the Ferraris, though. Even if they are fast in qualifying and block out the front row, they will still have to make it the whole 1.5 hours without any kind of technical problems.
Yeah, it seems that Ferrari have massively struggled with reliability in the first part of this season, and maybe they can sort that out as the season goes along. Justin Wilson, though, a driver who has failed to qualify for 2 of the opening 4 rounds, is in 11th place, ahead of Antonio Pizzonia as of right now. Rubens Barrichello on a fast lap. He's in the 17s in the first sector. We're seeing that be the benchmark and trying to have a good remainder of the lap. We've seen Pedro de la Rosa set a 17 actually in the first sector, but the second and third sectors seem to fall apart for the Spaniard. We'll see what the Brazilian can do, though, in the Ferrari. Up towards the line for Rubens Barrichello, half a second away from pole, just outside the 118s, and he goes third.
Maybe had some kind of half spin, a little loose car around to the corners. I don't know. Barrichello certainly.
I think he's been outperforming his what was expected of him, to be completely honest. As many expected him to be a second driver this season.
Yeah,
currently he finds himself ahead of his teammate in the championship 21-8. Granted, Jarno Trulli has had a lot of the reliability misfortune on his side of the garage, but Barrichello, he's had 2 podiums so far this season. He's definitely on course to make it a 3rd at some point in the near future, as Takuma Sato, he had a fairly decent race in what was the track called? Manicourt. He actually overtook, I think it was Nick Heidfeld over the line, as actually saw Nick Heidfeld and was it Nicolas Manassian both get disqualified, both for the same reasons. As if you remember, if people were here for the French Grand Prix, we saw a lot of teams actually pit with just a number of laps to go in that Grand Prix. We saw a number of drivers having to make extra pit stops at the end of the race, and actually, the Brabham and the Damslola Panos teams were found to have had fuel irregularities or fuel burn irregularities. There's the word, burn, on their cars, and as such, they were both disqualified. In which Manassian finished in 9th, and I think Heidfeld was 13th. So no points lost for either team, but I'm sure they won't like to have that repeated once again. And of course, if you want to know more about the race results and such in the race weekend, be sure to check out the Discord. It should posted it in the comments not too long ago, as well as the description of the stream, as David Coulthard, 0.02 of an improvement, very minor margins between him and his personal best, sees him remain in 5th place for now.
Trulli not had probably hope more from the season so far, but he probably hopes to put in a good qualifying lap around now as he comes to the start-finish straight. A little slide there, and he goes 17th.
Yeah, not quite up to the heights of his teammate Justin Wilson, 5 places further back. We'll see him the best part of a second behind his British teammate. It seems that Wilson overall is the quicker driver out of the two, but we've seen more often than not problems hitting the Britain side of the garage. And 2 times out the 4 races that we've seen so far, it's been 2 DNQs for Justin Wilson and none for Benoit Trulli, despite Trulli coming under pressure more often on the drop-off point, as we now see Jenson Button, the soon-to-be Williams man, goes 11th fastest in the Jaguar, 2.2 seconds off and 0.2 away from the top 10, which is currently being occupied by Mark Webber in the Red Bull. Michael Schumacher out on circuit, as is Juan Pablo Montoya. He's in the second sector currently. He's done an 18.0 in the first sector, which is respectable, albeit not completely within the realms of possibly trying to get pole position in this race. He makes his way through Acqua Minerale now and then fires his way up towards the Variante Alta. He's down through the second sector by 0.3 of a second, the Colombian. He's pushing it over the curbs through the Variante Alta as Jolt Baumgartner, the mighty Jolt Baumgartner, 7 seconds off the pace in that Minardi. Montoya then through Ravazza 1 and Ravazza 2, a 30.7 through the second sector. Fairly respectable lap time so far for him as he now makes his way to the Variante Bassa. He seems to have got that one pretty right and up towards the line. 3rd place for Montoya, dispatches of Rubens Barrichello in the top 3 and moves to within 1,000th of the 1 minute 18. So 1 minute 19.001 for the Colombian is a good lap time to have a baseline on, as Ralph Furman currently in 8th place and nearly a second off his teammate. Would like to see a good improvement here, and he goes to a 1 minute 20.1. I don't know how much of an improvement that actually is. Not really much of one at all, to be honest.
I think it was.
Yeah, so he's quite a way off his teammate as it currently stands, best part of 9/10 away, and as such stays in 9th for now.
We're only 20 minutes in, but Benassian in 5th is a very good result for them.
Yeah, I'm sure that the Damslola Panos team Would love for it to stay as it is right now, but Michael Schumacher currently on a lap, going purple in the first sector. He might get held up here by the Frenchman of Nicolas Manassian, as we were just previously talking about him. He's a 10th down through that second sector, so clearly he's being held up quite a bit, especially when it's against his teammate Kimi Raikkonen, so there should be no car disadvantage between either one of them, as now Schumacher makes his way down to the Ravazzas in the final sector. He's trying to get through on Manassian, but can't find a way through, which unfortunately is going to lead to him setting a worse time than he would like. He's going to try to get up the inside again into the final chicane, can't find his way through and up towards the line. An 18.8, despite being held up, it's not a bad lap at all. And Michael Schumacher goes third fastest. Jacques Villeneuve is also out on circuit, now down to 10th place in the Toyota. It seems that Toyota may have been jumped by D'Angelo Lopanos going into this round in terms of car performance, and up towards the line though for Jacques Villeneuve does get ahead of the Irishman of Ralph Furman to go up to 9th.
Block not having a good second sector here, going over the chicane. Now going down to the Variante Delta, I think it's called. I'm not entirely sure.
It's the Ravazzas.
Oh, okay, yeah. Coming out of there, probably take the straight line here, eat it up with his engine, cut the chicane, and then go 14th ahead of his teammate.
He actually found a lot of time in that last
Kimi
sector.
Raikkonen is purple in the first sector.
Yeah, Timo Glock found a lot of time in that last sector. It was only 3/10 up through the opening 2 sectors, and by the time he reached the checkered flag, he was 1.2 seconds up, so definitely a mistake on that first lap for Timo Glock. Certainly cost him a bit of time, and as such, he moves ahead of his teammate now by 0.4 of a second. The gauntlet has been set by the German for his more experienced Spanish teammate to beat, as Kimi Raikkonen now makes his way through the Ravazzas on his second lap. Purple in the first sector, not as fast in the second, and we'll see what the Iceman is capable of doing as he now heads towards the Variante Bassa, up towards the line for Kimi Raikkonen, and he doesn't improve on his lap time. Still pole position for now, although he'll have a target on his back for top spots. Manassian improving through the first sector meanwhile.
Yeah, Raikkonen seems to have maybe caught a bit of grass or sand there that was pushed onto the track. It's only a 10th ahead of Alonso, 3/10 out of his teammate Schumacher. He will definitely have to go out again to set a bit of lap time to hope on being the pole man. Now Manassian up in the second sector on his previous time, going over the chicane. Very lovely. Going down to the what's it called again? Virazzas. Okay. Seems all fine. Being stable through the second one as well. Now having to take the long straight. The engine does not like that. Cutting over the chicane now. And then going. Okay. A few tenths faster, but still behind Barrichello in 6th. Only 2 thousandths behind him. That's great performance.
Alex, what do you want about, bro? David Coulthard out on circuit currently. He's in 7th position right now. He needs to find quite a bit of time actually to catch Nicolas Manassian in terms of lap time. Manassian himself actually knocking on the door of trying to get into the top 5, just 2 thousandths behind the Brazilian of Rubens Barrichello at this current stage in qualifying, as we near halfway through the session. Giorgio Pantano with a much more representative time, still can't quite beat his teammate, although goes on to the front 2 rows provisionally. That knocks Coulthard down to 8th place now, and the 2000 world champion will be needing a lap good enough to obviously, I reckon if he beats Manassian, he should be able to get himself up to 4th place. It's very tight between all those drivers, as Dan Weldon there with a much needed improvement on his lap. A 3-second improvement, in fact, where he was held up by, I think, one of the Bootsons on his original flyer. He now moves up to 9th place and within a 10th of his teammate David Coulthard. We'll watch this onboard lap then with David Coulthard making his way through the Tamburello chicane He finds himself 100th up on his previous best, a 10th down as he now heads towards Tosa Corner. Very tight, long corner. Be sure to reach the curb on the outside there to get the maximum exit speed that you can. And now into one of the hardest corners on the track, I believe to be, is the Piratella. Very daring to try and get that one right, as well as Aqua Minerale. Make sure to not hit the grass on the outside of the corner, or you go sliding straight on into the barriers. He's marginally up through the first two sectors by around a couple hundredths as Thiago Montero's running into trouble. We'll check that in a second, as now David Coulthard powers his way in his Audi-powered BAR towards the two Ravazzas, over Ravazza 1. Nice amount of curb use there. And again through the second Ravazza, not quite using the exit curb though, as he now makes his way to the Variante Bassa, braking around 75 metres and then flicking it in, flicking it out and up towards the line. And it's a 10th.5 improvement for Coulthard, stays 8th, but good enough to take him within 2/3 of a second within pole position. Let's see what happened there with Thiago Montero there. It seems like a
gearbox failure?
I'm not exactly sure. Let me just check.
I mean, the engine is still running. You can hear that on broadcast.
It might be maybe a brake failure, actually.
Possibly, yeah. Anyways, it's a failure for the Minardi. That is, again, not great.
Yeah, I feel like even if by some miracle the Minardis make it through to the race, I don't feel like they'll actually end up making the end of the race. It seems that they massively struggle with reliability even in qualifying, so I don't know how they would contend in the race. Barrichello out there on circuit now. We've not seen anything of Jarno Trulli, although a man that has found himself under recent pressure, at least with the press, is Marc Genet. A pretty bare bones performance, you'd have to say, from the Spaniard in Manicure Solar himself, only ahead of the two Bootsons by the checkered flag. So yeah, he definitely needs to find something different. Well, obviously he's had a practice session to make himself gel with the cars, so he's obviously a lot more on the front foot compared to where he was this time last race weekend. Pedro de la Rosa, though, is currently in 16th place. He needs to find 4/10 to beat his teammate. He's improving for the first sector, but the Spaniard is down through the middle part of the lap. We'll see how it fares overall as he heads towards the line. It's a 1 minute 21.1. That's a 1/10 improvement, and he stays in 16th. It's currently an Opel all 8th row. Moving 10 places ahead, Barrichello 17.8 through that first sector. Can't quite find the same pace through the second sector and is down marginally on his previous best. It seems that the times we've seen so far in qualifying this season, that a lot of the drivers find a lot more time towards the end of the session, but it doesn't seem so as much here in San Marino today, as now Rubens Barrichello makes his way up towards the final chicane, and we'll see where this lap puts the Brazilian as he now crosses the line. 18.8 puts him third. So a good lap there sees him ahead of Michael Schumacher and exactly the same time. So fourth decimal point coming in clutch there, it seems, for the Brazilian. Marc Genet then, I believe he was 3/10 down through the first sector at 18.1. So I think it was about a 10th down on Montoya through that first sector. And not an amazingly far way down in the second sector either. We'll have to see what this lap time presents for Marc Genet. 13th place for him. That seems a lot more competitive as to where he was this time last race weekend, within 2 seconds of pole position, within a second and a half of his teammate Montoya, and he moves ahead of Mark Webber. Justin Wilson will be the next one to cross the line in the Rose Toyota as he makes his way to complete another lap. Does not move higher than 19th.
Yeah, Wilson might be struggle around here. Trulli in 22nd. Yeah, it just seems the Rose doesn't have the necessarily the oomph to be quick around a track like Imola, as we see Heidfeld now. I think is he on an outlap?
No, he's on a push
Oh,
lap.
okay.
21st
Goes
place for
20.
him.
Yeah.
So not as fast as his teammate Antonio Pizzoni, 4 tenths behind as he crossed the line there to complete his banker lap. But Pedro de la Rosa up on his previous best. I think he's going for multiple laps in a row, is the Spaniard. He's now within 2 tenths actually of his teammate Timo Glock and is about 2 tenths up through the first 2 sectors. So it's all in the final sector on whether he will be able to surpass his teammate in 16th position, as Cristiano D'Amata once again massively struggling with that Jaguar. 22-0, it's only 23rd place for the Brazilian. De La Rosa having a much more better time of it, although a mistake in that final sector has cost him any chance of improving on his lap as he stays in 17th. Felipe Massa a second down on pole through the first 2 sectors as Cristiano D'Amata going for consecutive laps. He's improving by 3 tenths through that first part of the track. The Brazilian in the Red Bull scored 1 point so far this season, as has his teammate Mark Webber. Nick Heidfeld in the Brabham has scored 2 points, although with it being a 7th place rather than 2 8th places for the Austrian team, it sees the German team currently ahead of the Austrian team, as Felipe Massa improves quite considerably actually to go 15th fastest and just behind his teammate Mark Webber. Cristiano D'Amata, a man that's seemingly under pressure with his seat at Jaguar, maybe under threat. Sorry. As now he makes his way to the final chicane. He's down in 23rd place. His teammate's actually, over a second ahead of him currently, although that's a much better lap from Cristiano D'Amata and moves just a couple thousandths ahead of his British teammate. So it seems that Jaguar are a lot more competitive as they were in the previous rounds, although saying that, as are Dams Lola Panos. So maybe even you could even maybe make a case for Minardi, as we've often seen them the best part of 10 seconds off the base rather than the 7 that Baumgartner is currently off by.
It's roughly 31 minutes in, and Trulli has not come out yet out of his pit boxes at a lap time, as have I think it is the Toyota Sperrifico?
Yeah,
and
Toyota Sperrifico. We thought that the Minardi of Montero actually went out on circuit earlier, didn't we? So, yeah.
Oh,
he had
okay.
a mechanical
So he probably
problem.
just did a... Yeah, okay. They're probably still fixing it, or trying to find some scraps to fix it. The brake issue he had. And with that, I will leave you to it for 2 to 3 minutes.
No worries. Giorgio Panto currently out on circuit. He's improving by less than 1/10 of a second and actually within 2 tenths of Raikkonen's provisional pole time. So this could be a lap that could possibly take him to possibly within maybe the top 3. Maybe for Giorgio Pantano, we'll have to wait and see, as now Joel Baumgartner is just ahead of him. This might cause a bit of trouble for the Italian. It doesn't seem so, as he now makes his way up towards the line. He made a mistake there, definitely, through that final part of the lap, and as such fails to improve. Jenson Button, though, is marginally improving as we head into the Variante Alta with the Briton. Let me catch up on chat once again. Hello, Yagup, sorry. I've not been really reading chat, so we've also got Jake racing at home, as well as Sampas. Yeah, it is indeed Imola, round 5 of the 2004 FIA Formula 1 World Championship, as the F1 challenge commentator likes to say. 19 thousandths worth of improvement there for Jenson Button, sees him actually jump back ahead of his Brazilian teammate as Montero back out on circuit once again. You'd have to let me know, by the way, on how the audio sounds, because I got myself a microphone on, which means I can put my... I can actually sit back in my chair rather than hunched over my desk, talking into my microphone. That's the word. Yep. Jeffrey, working on the 05 livery. Nice, nice. We also got Jack Bad Luck Bradbeer. Welcome in, Jack. Hope everyone's had a good week so far, and I hope that if you haven't, then can make it better with some epic Formula 1 Challenge 99 to 02 action. I doubt that much, but yeah, if you're joining us and you're basically, I can't even think. I'm trying to promote and I can't even do it. If you enjoy the stream and you want to keep an eye out for more streams, and drumroll please, I don't know if you could hear that, 1994 German Grand Prix out this coming Thursday. That's right, we are back with the career mode of 1994 in the Sauber Mercedes. I was watching the IndyCar race but almost fell asleep. That's very fair. I did see the crash that happened between Rob, Ferrucci and Schumacher. And then I had to stop watching it because I had to start the stream. Mark Webber improving through the opening 2 sectors. And he actually does by just over half a tenth to move a bit further ahead of his teammate. Still can't quite get ahead of Marc Genet in their fight for 13th on the grid. Thiago Monteiro out there on circuit now. He looks like he's going to be able to set a competitive lap, at least through the first sector, 19.6. Yeah, that's very fair. With the 94 streams, at least, not streams. They are not streams. I would like to preface, they are not streams. They are videos. They are remaining as videos. They will remain as videos. Yeah, the 94 videos. I'm not exactly. I doubt I'll be able to actually get them out weekly because I obviously do this as well. So you know, I'll get them out when I can. Basically, would I do a 2026 F1 Australia Grand Prix watch along? I hadn't thought about it, mainly because it's a bit early in the morning, isn't it? What is it, like 6 in the morning or something like that? I kind of, if I do get up to watch it, then I kind of just want to sit there and complain in my head because it's too early in the damn morning for Formula 1. But anyway, Marc Genet is currently in the final sector, in the final chicane no less, and improves by 0.4 of a second. Marc Genet, ladies and gentlemen, is in the top 10. He is improving, and he has gone ahead of Jacques Villeneuve by a couple of hundredths of a second. It is much better qualifying session from Marc Genet compared to last race weekend. 94 mentioned. Yeah, 94 mentioned. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Once again, it's Thursday, 6 PM GMT. So yeah. Welcome in, James. Yeah. Oh, that's Shinji Nakano going slow. Is it a suspension failure? It looks like it's a suspension failure on Shinji Nakano's car, and he's not going to be able to improve on his lap time. He is going to have to go back into the garage, and it's unlikely. I don't know. It's unlikely whether he'll be able to set another lap time in the session. Suspension failure there for the Boots and Energy Racing car.
Sounds lovely.
No co-commentator. Here he is. Speaking of the devil. David Coulthard is in 8th place.
He might improve on this lap. Would be able to, and he does not improve on position though.
What were you going to say, sorry?
Oh, nothing.
Oh, okay. I don't know who's actually on a competitive lap time right now. I know Thiago Monteiro has just done 2 push laps in a row. I don't know if he's on a third one. He only improved by 1/10 of a second in the second lap, so I don't know if he's going to be able to, on this, at least on this run, he's going to be able to make the gap up to his teammate to try and get ahead of him. We've actually seen so far this season, at least in pre-season testing and the few qualifying sessions that we've had, that Zsolt Baumgartner has been behind his teammate Thiago Monteiro until we have arrived at the San Marino Grand Prix. Monteiro seems to be on the back foot compared to his Hungarian teammate. whether that is actually with the arrival of Alex Young at the team, taking over his seat for the Malaysian and Bahrain Grand Prix, or whether it's just the fact that Baumgartner has actually gotten used to the car or not. We'll have to wait and see if this can actually develop into anything as Montero improves. Not enough to get ahead of his teammate for 27th. Nick Heidfeld, though, out on circuit. He is also a driver that's currently behind his teammates by 4/10 of a second, that is. He's 2/10 up, though, through the first 2 sectors, so at this current rate, he should be able to slot himself at least ahead of Takuma Sato, who's marginally ahead of the German, as he now makes his way into and out of the second Ravazza and up towards the line. As we see the sector splits there, Raikkonen is actually fastest through every single one of these 3 sectors around this circuit. As Heidfeld across the line, as predicted, he goes to 22nd, although was actually slower through that last sector. Cristiano De Mata out there on circuits, as I haven't even actually realised David Coulthard's completed all of his laps. We're only 2/3 of the way through this session, and Coulthard has completed all of his 12 qualifying laps, so we won't see any further improvement above 8th place for the Scotsman. Takuma Sato improving in the first sector. We'll watch Cristiano De Mata, who's now catching up to, that's going to be Friesaka in the first of the 2 Bootsons. Friesaka currently in 25th, although he has yet to see Trulli and Sperafico out there on circuit as of right now. Trellier failing to improve there, stays 5/10 ahead of the Austrian of Patrick Friesaka. Cristiano De Mata also fails to improve. Takuma Sato ahead of himself in the first sector, not quite as such in the second sector. Ralf Schumacher also out there and improving. Sato also, Schumacher also a full second at least ahead of his teammate Takuma Sato. Remain that way as Sato up towards the line and remains in 23rd. His teammate 10 places higher is improving through each of the first 2 sectors. Who's the guy that constantly, the predictions for a win always goes to driver? That's Jack Bradbeer. Or Bradbeer, sorry. Not Bradbeer, Bradbeer. Yeah, he's been very good at it so far this season, as a good qualifying lap there from Schumacher sees him remain in 13th, but a bit closer to Ralph Furman.
Yeah, Sato, I think, not had the best track record around Imola. Maybe it's just a track that doesn't suit him, but I think last year he retired from the race.
I think he was actually ahead of his teammate Heinz-Harald Frentzen in that race, and he was possibly within a shout. Well, I think if he was, oh, that's nearly a spin there from Patrick Friesaka as he crosses the line there to not improve on his lap time and remain in 25th for now. Sperafico out there on circuit. As I was saying, I think Sato was either just behind or ahead of his teammate Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Of course, since the German scored a podium in that race, you'd have to assume that the Japanese driver would have done the same in that Grand Prix if the engine hadn't expired in the back of that Honda.
Yes, Sato now has ended all of his qualifying runs, as you may have said earlier, and he is...
Oh no, I haven't actually realised that.
Oh yeah, he is 1.5 seconds almost off of his teammates. Yeah, that's not really a great look. If people improve, or if Trulli actually gets out of the pits the next 10 minutes or so, there is a possibility Sato might not qualify for the race. Although a very slim possibility.
I think there's a bigger possibility that Racing at Home, also known as Jake Wilson's team, will not be racing at Imola today. As it currently stands, Sperafico out there on circuit. Jarno Trulli yet to set a qualifying time in this session as well. Those two are probably expected to go ahead of at least probably around a third of the grid at the very least. Sperafico could be the one that at least knocks Nakano out at the end of this lap. Can't see what his first sector split is because the time comparison's shown up. 17.9 for Sperrifico through that first sector. So pretty competitive from the Brazilian as he now heads his way up to the Piratella corner, fast flowing downhill left-hander as he now into 4th gear, 220 kilometers an hour there for the Brazilian as he now makes his way to Acqua Minerale, braking and turning. Never too good in a Formula 1 car, but you must do it to improve or get a good sector time as he now crosses the second sector split. Not entirely sure what it is, because once again, thank you time comparison. Up 30.8 it is between himself in Sector 1 and Sector 2, so we'll see what this final sector can bring for the Brazilian. It seems pretty stable through these next couple of corners as Giorgio Pantano and Jacques Villeneuve have both now completed all of their qualifying laps. As Kimi Raikkonen still on pole position. Where can Sperrifico go? It's 8th place, so once again, within a single lap, Sperrifico has managed to out-qualify his teammate Jacques Villeneuve.
And that pretty convincingly, 9/10 ahead of him. The Brazilian was thought to be slower going into the season than Villeneuve, and has now turned the tables there, possibly on another push lap. Although he might catch up to the cars in front. The Red Bull, Sauber, and the Opel. Oh, okay.
15 minutes to go, and Alonso across the line does not find an improvement in that last sector. Must have made a mistake.
Trulli has
stays second place.
Exited.
He has indeed.
Trulli has exited his pits by now. Yeah, well, he might. I think with just one lap, he might be able to go into the top 4. I think that should be on the cards.
Well, if he goes into the top 4, then I imagine he'll be into the top 3 as well, considering that Barrichello and Schumacher have set identical lap times. As now Jarno Trulli begins his assault on the circuit. Nakano now in the bottom 4, and I imagine after this lap it will be 2 Bootsons in the bottom 4. Mark Webber out there on the circuit, he's not looking like he's going to improve on a lap. 21.0, half a second down, as Jarno Trulli half a tenth up through the first sector, and 17.8 sees him just ahead of Kimi Raikkonen as he now makes his way through Tosa corner. You'll see all the Tifosi on the right hand side rising as the Ferrari goes streaming past, now towards Piratella once again for the Italian. Now,
yeah, I might have to retract my statement here. It might even go on pole just with one lap out.
It certainly looks like that Jarno Trulli has been the man to beat in qualifying this season, and it seems that San Marino may be no different. 400ths up, not quite as fast as Kimi Raikkonen through that second sector, but is up overall on the Finn's time. We'll see how this last sector fares. He was pretty unstable, I would say, through that Variante Alta, although he managed to clear it up pretty well as he now powers his way towards the Variante Bassa, up towards the final chicane for Jarno Trulli. And what will this lap time be? It's 1,000th slower than Kimi Raikkonen. Wow, could it get much closer than this? Unbelievable scenes as Jarno Trulli just 1,000th of a second behind Kimi Raikkonen.
Well, that was only his first lap. If he improves on it, we might see another Trulli pole by like 3 to 4 tenths. But it will also probably take 3 to 4 tenths into the race to him to retire again. As Barrichello is down, no, up on the.
He's up on Raikkonen's time, but he's not up on himself.
Okay.
So Barrichello also looking competitive in that first sector, as is Nick Heidfeld. Yeah. Not so much, though, in the second sector. 32.0 is not quite as fast as what he has done in previous laps. We'll see how the German fares for the remainder of this lap. And he's actually starting to get caught here a little bit by a Ferrari. Hopefully the Ferrari doesn't hold up Heidfeld too much, as now the Brabham makes his way to the final corner, across the final chicane and up towards the line. A non-improvement there from Heidfeld, stays 24th. What about Rubens Barrichello? He's currently found himself behind Shinji Nakano in a Bootson. Is not improving through either one of the first 2 sectors. A 21.5 is not going to do at all, and he stays 4th for now.
Montoya currently on a lap, I think.
You're down at the second sector.
think he is.
No, he is. Oh, he is. Okay.
Ralph
Oh,
Furman's had a
Ralph
crash.
Furman. De La Rosa.
Oh, and De La Rosa's crashed as well in the Opel. We'll have to see what happened there between the Irishman and the Spaniard. Oh, and it seems like a miscommunication between the pair. Ralph Furman getting driven into the back of there by Pedro De La Rosa. I think De La Rosa was starting a lap though, so he kind of would have expected Furman to get out the way at that point. And well, both of their runs are now ruined with just over 10 minutes remaining on the clock. Timo Glock, though, Pedro De La Rosa.
Not improving, I think.
Yeah, sorry. Timo Glock is coming up towards the line now. He's in the 17th of the first sector. No improvement through that last sector.
Yeah.
Some sort of mistake. Probably for Timo Glock. Stays 20th for now. Ralf Schumacher is marginally up through the first two sectors, but he's going to get held up here, isn't he, by Pedro De La Rosa in the Opel. Although saying that, the Opel's pretty fast in a straight line, especially without a front wing. So Schumacher is definitely going to get held up now through the Ravazzas, though. This is going to cost him time and a definite chance of improving, possibly to try and get ahead of Ralph Furman. He needed to find a 10th.5 to do so, but Ralf Schumacher is, for some reason, going to stay out. As 10 minutes remaining on the clock, Schumacher remains in 15th. And that lap, that crash with Pedro De La Rosa also sees the end of his qualifying session as he now runs out of laps in the session.
I think Luck should also be running out of laps with Alonso starting a lap. No idea if he's up or not. Just the timing sheets again don't show it. My guess is he'll probably up by like a 10th on his own time. Now going through Piratella.
He's not even on a lap.
Oh, he's on an out lap. Great. Dan Weldon doesn't improve, I think. Right,
yeah. Stays 11th for right now. He seems pretty comfortable in keeping within the top 11 at least, as Marc Genet over 6/10 behind on the 6th row of the grid. It's looking good though for Marc Genet. A much more competitive qualifying session from him. It's just over a second behind his teammate Montoya compared to the multiple seconds he was behind in Manicourt, as we'll now see a lap started by Fernando Alonso, and I will be right back.
Long straight into turn 1. Renault engine should be able to make it beautifully. Into turn 1, turn 2, taking it gracefully, take turn 3. Outside there, not too much curve rolls, he will ruin the lap. Into Villeneuve. Gracefully taken. He is up by a 10th, I think, on Kimi Raikkonen's pole time. Michael Schumacher's up as well. Michael might have... Never mind, he might not have the upper hand there. Going 2/10 lower than Raikkonen through the second sector. Or at least 2/10 down on him. Alonso going through Arco Minerale up to the second sector time. Pretty gracefully taken. Yeah, no, he just isn't improving through the second sector. So it seems like nobody can beat Raikkonen today. Schumacher 2 seconds down. He might have been held up by someone. Then Christian D'Amato up on his own time in the second sector. And Alonso does not improve. No, he does improve by, I think, almost a 10th. Fair enough. Christian D'Amato does improve slightly by 2/10. I don't think he went up though. In the timing sheets. Minesian also on a lap. Raikkonen does not improve. He's 2/10 down on his own pole time lap. As we see now, the Ferrari there coming out. I think it was Trulli. Might have been. Yeah. Nacion up to the line. Doesn't improve. 2 tenths down his own time. Stays in 8th. Friesacker. Sure.
Prix
16
going
seconds.
about the same pace as a Minardi, it would seem.
Yeah. My guess is he either spun or his engine cut out. 16 seconds is a lot. Maybe comically amount of time behind.
This might cement his position in the bottom 4 at this point, as he now makes his way up towards the line. Obviously, no improvement there from the Austrian, as he remains in 27th place. Jenson Button, though, can afford to find some improvement in his lap time and could have the chance of taking 17th place off his teammate Cristiano Domata, who is just under a tenth ahead of him. We'll see what Jenson Button is capable of as he makes his way up towards the line. He does find enough improvement to go 17th, but no higher. Weber 15 thousandths out of reach for the Briton. Manassi on another
I think
lap.
Is the next one.
I think he is.
No, Manassi.
No improvement.
It does improve, I think. Yeah. Mark Genet should be next over the line. The Williams driver seeming a bit more confident than last time around, and he stays in 12th. I mean, he's roughly a second behind Montoya. I think after the unprepared chicanery he had in France, I think that's a lot of an improvement, as we now see Trulli going through Aqua Minerale. Let's see if he's up on the pole time. He is by 3 tenths, I think that is.
No, that was 100th of a second, it said.
Okay.
So this could be very marginal, actually, between Raikkonen, Trulli and Rubens Barrichello to possibly take pole position in this Grand Prix. 3 tenths down currently is Rubens Barrichello, and in 4th place, but an improvement of about a tenth and a half through the first 2 sectors could possibly put him within a chance of possibly snatching top spot with just 4 minutes remaining on the clock. No, he fails to improve through the final sector and stays in 4th. Trulli has gone back into the pits. He can't find an improvement and stays in 2nd place, 1,000th of a second, would you believe, still behind Kimi Raikkonen. Juan Pablo Montoya just needs to find the merest of margins of improvement to actually get himself ahead of Giorgio Pantano, who has completed all of his laps in this qualifying session. Ralph Furman finds a tenth and a half to go onto the front 6 rows. He's in 12th place, albeit half a second down on Dan Weldon. Juan Pablo Montoya, though, through the final couple of corners, the Ravazzas there, and now towards the Variante Bassa. Juan Pablo Montoya should be looking at a potential improvement here, although it does not seem all too fast through that last sector. He does improve, but not by enough to dispatch of Giorgio Pantano for 6th.
I think next up would be Glock over the line, if I've seen correctly.
Have a look.
But he does not improve.
You're down at the first sector.
Go to look at Dan Weldon, I think, is now starting a lap. Sperafico, I think, is also on a lap, so we'll have a look. Can we have a look? Of course, can we have a look? Please.
We will have a look around right about now. I think the sector time should change. Or not. Great.
Let me look. Please! Oh my, rage bait, bro. What is this rage bait from the game? Just show us the sector times, please!
Well, we will see
He's
it
not
now.
even starting.
Great. That's probably why it didn't switch. Well, it's 2 minutes remaining. Massa about to go over the line. He does not improve. He stays in 19th unless he does another qualifying lap.
Hello, Chris.
Trulli also seems to be content with his time. Let's just hope he doesn't stall on the 2nd position. front of the Tifosi.
Fernando
Now we're
Alonso
seeing
on an
Fernando Alonso being
outlap.
hauled
It
up
should
by,
be
I think that's Furman.
Yes, Fernando Alonso's on an outlap, and hopefully for him, the Irishman will move out the way before his lap begins, as Sperrifico actually improving through that first sector. The Brazilian looking to try and get ahead maybe of Nicolas Manassian, maybe even ahead of Montoya, but half a cent down through the first two sectors means that he's more than likely not going to be any higher than 9th in this qualifying session.
Yeah.
Alonso is ahead of Ralph Furman, so maybe we will see a potential pole lap here from the Spaniard as he now starts his lap. And there is
Only 1
drivers
minute
coming
left.
out the pits. It's a Ferrari. So he's more than likely
Schumacher,
not going to be
purple in the first
improving.
sector.
Schumacher is, though, well spotted there, as now he makes his way up to the Piratella for what could possibly be his final lap in the qualifying session. We've seen that Schumacher does have the potential to go to pole position if it weren't for traffic. We'll see how he fares, though, without the traffic. And into the second sector. Can we see a sector time, please? It'd be great.
Please. No sector time.
No sector time. We'll just assume that he's somewhere close to pole position. He is improving a 30.6. Raikkonen also out there, not as fast as his teammate through the first sector, but is up on his previous best. So we'll see what Michael Schumacher can do up towards the Variante Bassa, the final chicane. 2 corners to go between Schumacher and a potential pole lap. It is pole position by a quarter of a tenth of a second, and now with Kimi Raikkonen being held up by one of the Bootsons, it seems like it's Schumacher's pole lap to lose. I don't think Trulli's had time actually to get towards the line. I don't think he does, unless Alonso can find some lap time out this final sector. He is not going to take pole position. Trulli's not going to take pole position. Raikkonen is also not going to find the space to actually maneuver himself to try and take pole position back away from his teammate, which means Schumacher's hijacked it. Pole position for the German and an absolutely cracking lap at the death.
Yeah, he really came out in the dying moments there, seeing how he had no traffic. Everyone around him had traffic. Yeah, it's just very lucky from the German there.
And obviously,
I'm trying myself not to say anything with hands this time.
And obviously the Tifosi, I imagine, will not be pleased one bit, as McLaren, this is their first front row lockout of the season. So it seems that McLaren have the advantage here in San Marino. Michael Schumacher taking his second pole position of the season. A quarter of a tenth ahead of both Kimi Raikkonen and Jarno Trulli. Just 27 thousandths separating the top three. Alonso, a tenth away from pole, is only good enough for fourth, ahead of the second Ferrari of Barrichello. Pansano, Montoya and Manassian complete the top 8, with Sperrifico out qualifying his teammate once again, not for the first time this season. Coulthard completing the top 10. Then we've got Weldon, Furman, Genet, much better qualifying session from him in the Williams. Villeneuve completing row 7, with the reigning champion down in 15th, ahead of the Red Bull of Webber. Then come the 2 Jags of Button and Massa. Then Massa, Glock, De La Rosa, Pitsonia, Wilson, Heidfeld, Sato and Trellier will make it onto the grid. That means that the 2 Bootsons of Friesaka and Nakano out, as well as the 2 Minardis, Baumgartner and Montero, make up the bottom of the table. Join us in a few moments where we'll be back for 62 laps of enthralling action for the 2004 San Marino Grand Prix. There we go. Hello, everybody. It is race day, and it is wet, and it is planning on raining sometime within the next few minutes. But later on down the line, it is expected to stop raining. So this could be a very interesting one in terms of race strategies for this Grand Prix. It was, as we see, Montoya out on circuit. He's on the wet tyres, but about half the grid are planning on going out there on the intermediates.
Yeah, it's raining quite a lot down there. Some teams going for inters as a whole, some for wets as a whole, or some teams like McLaren put Schumacher on the inters and Raikkonen on the wets. From your experience, what do you think would be the perfect tire to go at the start?
Honestly, I have absolutely no clue because I don't know how much. If it does rain, it's never always certain on how the weather will act. But if it does rain for an extended period of time, I would go for the wet tyres. But if it doesn't rain, then the intermediates will definitely be the tyre of choice. It seems that majoritively it will be an intermediate start, including for pole sitter Michael Schumacher. I don't know if he's out on circuit.
Never
yet.
mind,
He is out
Raikkonen
on
has also
circuit.
changed to the inters. I think, yeah, you were right. It seems to be inter conditions.
Yeah, it seems he went for a last second change there for the Finn, so that could be possibly, who knows, a race winning strategy or a race losing strategy. We'll have to wait and see. I have to say, yeah, go on.
Of teams will probably stay in their pit box as long as legally possible before going out, seeing what other teams are putting on. But I'm already seeing here on the spreadsheet, on the timesheet, that most of them are already switching back to the inters. I think when they not rolled out, but they started rolling the cars into the pits. So you get what I mean, when they started putting on the tires. I think it was still wets, and now looking at it, it's probably inters. So people like Montoya have possibly missed out there, going out with inters. Wets instead of inters. Yes.
And it seems, as of right now, the only driver out on the wet tyres is Juan Pablo Montoya. So I believe it's actually just started raining. So this is anyone's guess for how this race is going to play out, honestly.
Now, if it's actually intermediate conditions and everyone is getting off quite well, except for Montoya, then courtesy to him, but he will have to pit and lose a lot of time and positions there. If it's wet conditions and he is the only one that's actually staying on the track, I think this could be very good. Yeah.
And obviously this is, I believe, the first time that we have seen any form of variable weather in a Grand Prix this season. And it is Komate track, notable for being a track with a lot of chaos that usually happens around this circuit. Just 6 cars reached the checkered flag here last season in 2003 and gave us the maiden point of both the Opel and the Rose Motorsport teams. Who knows, maybe we could see a brand new team scoring points today, although I think every team on this grid currently has already scored points before. I believe the only team that has never scored a point in Formula 1 on the current grid is Boots and Energy Racing, if I recall correctly. I believe so, yeah. So, yeah. Waiting just a few more minutes, and then we'll be getting the 5th round of the 2004 Formula 1 Championship underway. I will say as well, I am planning on possibly getting maybe some highlights done, because I still have like all the recordings of the streams, the F1 streams at least. I won't be doing any more of the super. Well, I won't do any more of the Super Truck. I won't do any of the GP2 or F3 races, but I'll do highlights of the F1 races. I need to get those done because I'm actually running out of hard drive space, and these streams actually take up a lot of space on my computer. So I'll get those done maybe at some point. No points scored in Formula 1. You'll never sing that. Got him.
Maybe it's time to delete ETS2 then and its mods.
I've only got 4 mods on ETS2.
Mm-hmm. As we see now, both of the Renaults coming up to the grid, both at the same time.
I believe we're waiting on...
Yeah, so Montoya.
Genet
Uh, yeah.
someone else. I don't know who that is. It's a Red Bull. Okay. Yeah. Now we'll wait for, I believe that's Mark Webber, to pull into his grid spot, and then we will get this race underway.
Hello there. Welcome to San Marino. As we've come to expect here, the weather conditions are completely unpredictable. All we can forecast is a very exciting session. Michael Schumacher first. Raikkonen second. Jarno Trulli third. Fernando Alonso fourth. Barrichello fifth. Jarno sixth. The Williams driver endured a lackluster qualifying session and faces a tough start in the midst of the chasing pack. He starts seventh.
Nicolas Menaciron.
Eighth.
Riccardo Sperrifico.
Ninth. David Coulthard 10th.
Dan Weldon.
11th. Ralph Berman 12th. Genet was way off the pace of his teammate. He starts in 13th. Villeneuve 14th. Ralph Schumacher 15th. Webber 16th. Button 17th. Cristiano Damata 18th. Massa 19th. Team Motto 20th. De La Rosa 21st. Antonio Pizzonia 22nd. Justin Wilson 23rd. Nick Heidfeld 24th.
And with the back row comprising of Sato and Trellier, it's time to go racing. 25 drivers on the intermediates and just one in the form of Montoya on the wets. Let's see how this one shakes out. The lights are green. There's racing to be seen. It seems that everyone's got away well as Michael Schumacher's taken advantage ahead of his teammate Kimi Raikkonen in towards the first corner. Let's see how this one plays out. Raikkonen challenging up the inside of Michael Schumacher but can't find his way through. It seems as they were for the top 8. However, further back, Ralph Furman's overtaken David Coulthard to get himself into the top 10 down the inside. For Jarno Trulli into the Villeneuve chicane, can't find his way through there so far as now Fernando Alonso under pressure from Rubens Barrichello in the battle for 4th place, that is. Barrichello trying to force his way through, but Alonso with the much more superior exit out the corner as they head towards Piratella for the first time of 62. As there, Barrichello up the inside, there's contact between him and the Spaniard. Very nearly a crash between the two of them. Barrichello stays behind for now, but the Brazilian very feisty off this race start.
Yeah, it seems that it's quite hard to see anything, even as a commentator. A lot of spray going out behind the cars. Yeah, Montoya doesn't seem to have a problem even being on wets, and Schumacher is just pulling away. And then we see Trulli almost make it. Oh, he has a half spin there, trying to get down the inside of Raikkonen. Now he's under threat of the Renault of Alonso, possibly?
Yeah, that's Alonso in the 4th place spot currently. The top 9 remaining as they were on the start of the race. As Giorgio Pantano in 6th. They're the two Ferraris trying to box in Fernando Alonso to try and get Barrichello ahead of the Spaniard. As I said, the top 9 remaining as they were on the grid. Ralph Furman making up 2 places as Sato's just gotten past Trellier, actually just been re-overtaken as they head towards turn 1. Massa as well as Wilson also gaining a lot of places, 3 and 4 respectively between the two of them. But at the front, Michael Schumacher running away with things, as so often in his Formula 1 career. quite clearly proving to be the better of most other drivers out there on circuits in the wet conditions. Juan Pablo Montoya maybe starting to struggle a little bit as he's fallen off the back of Giorgio Pantano. Now 2 seconds is the gap between him and the Italian, as he now has Nicolas Minassian firmly in his sights. There is the Dams Lola Panos looking for a move in towards the Variante Alta. Can't find a way through, but I feel like Montoya may have to pit within the next couple of laps. As there, Minassian looking towards the inside.
Ooh.
Oh, a little bit of a rear loss there. For Nicolas Minassian. He's going to lose a bit of momentum, not so much that he's under pressure from Riccardo Sperrafico, but seemingly that Minassian is going to have to try a little harder than that, try and overtake in an unorthodox place. As thanks for recognising that in the chat, Jake. Nick Heidfeld has dropped back a lot on the starts. Not exactly sure what's happened to him, but he's fallen a long way back, and he currently finds himself down in last by 6 seconds. So, not entirely sure what's happened there. As we go back to further up the field, Ralph Furman heavily under pressure there from David Coulthard in the BAR. We'll see if the Scotsman can find his way through. Very difficult to overtake at this circuit, has been previously proven in the past. Coulthard trying to get a move done up the inside on Ralph Furman. Can't find his way through though as they head up towards Piratella.
Yeah, Montoya seems to not have a problem with traction, but just the overall pace on the wet. He's building up quite a train behind him, although it seems Vanessa might be able to maneuver around him somehow in the corners. I think the only thing that's really lacking here is the engine again. You know, BMW Williams pulling ahead and then in the corners. The Panos making up the ground again. But it seems... Yeah.
Sorry, Massa's just fallen back a number of places there. He's now down to 18th position. We'll get a quicker look of what has just happened there with Felipe Massa. He's on the back of Marc Genet in the battle for 15th. He's gone up the inside, trying to get through. He's lost it over the curbs there, it seems. Nearly collects his teammate in the process and falls behind not only his teammate but also the Jaguar of Jenson Button. So the Briton now up into 17th place in this Grand Prix.
Yeah, quite a train they're building behind the Italian. No, it's not the Italian. It's the Colombian of Montoya. Here we see Raikkonen. He's just having Barrichello in his gearbox.
That's Trulli.
Probably not trying to... Is that Trulli? Oh, it is Trulli. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, he's probably just trying to not over push it, as we see Michael Schumacher is a second faster than his teammate in the wet. I mean, he's obviously known for his heroics in these conditions, but a second.
Another driver who is actually showing pretty good pace right now is actually Nick Heidfeld in the clear air after making some form of mistake. He's actually lapping at a similar place to Giorgio Pantano, up in 6th with a 1 minute 25.6 for the pair of them. As Montoya continuing to fall back at this point. 6 seconds is now the gap between him and Pantano, and we haven't even finished the 4th lap of this Grand Prix. Schumacher, though, pulling away at the front by over a second a lap at this current rate. 5.5 seconds is the gap between him and his Finnish teammate as they complete lap 4. As Minassian once again looking towards the inside of the Colombian of Juan Pablo Montoya, but again, it's the straight line speed of the Dams Lola panels that's massively hindering him to try and make this overtake, and as such Sperrafico might have a crack at him as they head towards turn 1. Can't find his way through, and Sperrafico remains outside of the points for now as the rain continues to... It looks like it's almost starting to become a deluge. It looks very heavy there into turn 1. It seems a bit more light as they head towards Tosa. But it seems maybe the rain is becoming heavier and heavier. As Sato's off. Sato's off in a big way. And I think Heidfeld's also involved in that crash down at turn 1. Heidfeld with a brake failure, we've been told.
You were just speaking of him. That's certainly some sort of commentator's curse right there.
Maybe he was going too
we'll
fast
have
into the corners.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We hope both of them were okay, but seeing half of a Honda on the track is
Oh,
yeah.
massively unfortunate there for Takuma Sato, who was a bystander in that, and as such, 2 retirements in the opening 5 laps.
Takuma Sato has retired in sector
At
1.
least Sato's Honda right there was recovered in time. Yeah, I mean the rain always catching a lot of people, especially more of the inexperienced drivers like Hadfield. I think he has been here for a lot more seasons. Sorry, that's on me. Yeah, no, brake failure. I think you said it was right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that just comes with the reliability of the sport. Not the sport itself, just the cars in the sport. Now we see Trulli. No, it's not Trulli.
Is running 6, about 5 seconds ahead.
Yeah, it's these little groups that form at the front. We have Michael, who's just 8 seconds, so no, it's like a bit more than 7 seconds out of his teammate. Then we have Raikkonen, Trulli, Alonso, Barrichello. Then we have Montoya holding up the rest of the grid almost. Yeah.
It seems actually
to
that
say,
the 2 Williams are holding up their respective trains as well.
Yeah.
Genet kind of holding up Jensen Button a bit further off the pace is the Jaguar, but Genet seemingly a lot more competitive in this Grand Prix compared to last, where he was, albeit pretty much right at the back, barring the 2 Boots Energy racing cars. Rubens Barrichello still hounding the back of Fernando Alonso's rear wing, and the Spaniard soaking up the pressure pretty nicely at this current stage, although it seems that Fernando has got the measure on him right now as we head towards the final chicane. Alonso with what seems to be a better exit out of the corners compared to the Brazilian. The Brazilian in the slipstream, though, catching up a little bit down the straights is not enough to get alongside and try and challenge for that 4th position.
About 10 seconds ahead. You're running 7th.
Yeah,
to me it looks like the rain is somewhat intensifying again.
Yeah, it could be a light fuel actually for Michael Schumacher. He's pulling away by over a second a lap at this point. Gap is now 8.5 seconds to Kimi Raikkonen in 2nd place, who's in turn holding off Jarno Trulli pretty nicely as there. He makes a mistake going wide at the Piratella. No damage done though for the Italian.
Montoya himself is not really getting away from Manassian there, even with the rain intensifying. I think that might just be down to the interesting philosophy the Williams went for with their cars and their front wing especially, just not working out in the end. I think the more traditional downforce philosophies that the other cars are going for or went for seem to be much more interesting, much more useful, as we see Coulthard trying to not send it down, but at least get closer to Furman here around the Rivazzos. We might have a possibility into turn 1, not here. That is a bit ambitious.
It seems that the Damsel Lipanos are certainly thriving in these wet conditions right now. Both cars in the top 10 and Manassian in the points, and actually threatening the Williams of Juan Pablo Montoya at this current stage of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, Coulthard is not making it into turn 1 either. This is just a battle of engine versus downforce, as it is always with the Panos cars, having probably one of the best downforce packages on the grid. Surprising, but a conjointment that they have formed with the Dams and the Panos team for this season seems to have worked greatly in their favor.
Definitely. So, Trulli's up to second. Trulli's
he's
not up to
round.
second. He's spun round at the Ravazza, and Jarno Trulli for the 4th time this season, I think, is out of the race. He is out of the race. Brake failure for the Italian. He's the 3rd retirement of this Grand Prix.
I mean, I was joking, but I think it was kind of obvious. I think this Ferrari is just, you could say it's probably taped together with just a bunch of industrial tape, as we say now. I think he just loses on the brake and just
Definite brake
drives,
failure there for Jarno Trulli. A frustrating end at the team, and his home Grand Prix, of course, sees him become the 3rd retirement of this Grand Prix. Jarno Trulli out with a brake failure.
Now it's all in the hands of Barrichello, but I'm not sure if he can actually, take it where it needs to be. Of course, he is not like on the level of a second driver, but it will have to remain to see if he can overtake the likes of Alonso, Raikkonen, and probably just Alonso and Raikkonen, seeing how far Michael is ahead. Even if he's on a 3-stop. These kind of conditions just cater towards him. I think Michael, if there is no technical problems or anything, he might be in a very safe spot to win this race already.
And obviously, with that retirement, it also puts Riccardo Sbarafico into the points, of course, has come close in multiple occasions so far this season, especially in France, where he was actually threatening the podium places until a gearbox failure put him out of commission somewhere in the middle section of the race, as Mark Webber's actually just overtaken his teammate Felipe Massa, I think, down at Tosa, to make his way up to 16th position. As welcoming Orange Lightning, as well as Dylan, welcoming everybody who has recently joined. As that is Massa. Massa's off at the chicane, and he's nearly rejoined into the path of the Opel there. Fortunately, no collision between the two. Della Rosa's through. Pitsonia, I think, did make contact with his countryman as he rejoined onto the circuit, and the Red Bull down to 20th position now, under threat from Pitsonia and the Brabham, who gets a bit loose through the Rivazzas.
That's just unfortunate,
I reckon this is going to be quite
we have
a
seen
long
so
race.
far this season. The Red Bull, I'm not sure if it's just in a few races, but seems to be very loose in the lead.
Yeah, it seems that the car is very, very skating on the rear end of that Red Bull, and as such it allows them to lose the car in pretty high speed corners, which is a bit dangerous, but the drivers for the most part have been able to keep it under wraps. The rain does look much heavier than what it started, and as such I don't think we've actually realised this. I think Montoya, he's definitely starting to pull away, because look at him now. He was actually holding up a train all the way down to, what was it 13th place down Weldon, and now look at Montoya. He's shooting off into the distance, over a second now ahead of Manassian. This could be the time that Montoya needed to get his tyres to work on lap 11. He is starting to gain on the cars behind, starting to drop them, sorry, as we'll actually check a last lap comparison. Montoya across the line, and he is in the 28 still, surprisingly. We'll see what his lap comparison is in the coming laps, but maybe this is the time that the wets are starting to become the better of the two tyres.
Yeah, massive gap between Pantano and Montoya there. You see, they're almost a sector, like half a sector in between them. But
Coulthard's got a run there on Ralph Furman in towards the Villeneuve chicane, can't find his way through. But it seems that the BAR not as strong in the wet conditions as what it has been so far this season. Coulthard once again looking towards the inside of Tosa there.
But yeah, as it's being pointed out, Furman, who's never even scored in F1 before, now has to defend against 3 current or former world champions. That is certainly not an easy task to do.
Welcoming Karim.
Coulthard is really trying everything to get past this Panos, but it just seems to be out of his ability. Yeah. Maybe run outside into the Vetters.
He's going to look
He's
towards the
he's never
inside,
really-
can't find his way through
Yeah.
though. It seems that the
never
drivers are really
quite there.
struggling to be able to draw alongside in these very slippery conditions, of course. Raining pretty heavily at this current stage, as up the inside once again for Coulthard. Contact between him and Ralph Furman. Furman firms it, he stays in 9th. Can he hold on towards turn 1, or will Coulthard get the extra advantage down the straight? He's going to look towards the inside as the Scotsman. He's going to make contact with Furman
he's
again,
spinning.
and he's going to spin
He's spinning.
round. And that's a mistake there from Coulthard. Through
Oh.
goes... and he's crashed with his teammates! The 2 BARs collide! And the 2 BARs are out!
The wheel.
Unbelievable! The 2 BARs collide! This
I
is
have no
absolute...
David Coulthard has retired in sector 1.
And the BAR team boss of Jeffrey Tire is going to be furious with his 2 drivers. David Coulthard spinning on the curb at the first chicane, and Dan Weldon, completely unaware with the spray in front of him, has completely clattered into the side of his teammate, and both BARs are out. Oh, you'd have to say actually that David Coulthard probably pulled across his teammate there, and a massive repair bill there for the BAR team. Both cars out the race, and that's going to massively hinder them in the constructors battle against Williams.
Yeah, the team boss will probably send them back to the psychopaths, seeing if they can still keep the cars in a line. Coulthard is just moving over. I know it's wet, but still, that is no excuse. Yeah, and unfortunate for them. I'm still a bit shocked. That was quite the sight.
It certainly was, and it's going to see now 5 retirements in this Grand Prix.
Michael is still just pulling away. It's he's 20 seconds ahead. I mean, even if he's on a 3-stop, it certainly is a win for him if nothing happens. Speaking of, Rubens Barrichello is pitting on this lap, so he is certainly on a 3-stop. He might be changing to the wet tires, seeing that Montoya's pace is slightly improving. Might be on this crossover point where teams don't know if they should put on the wets or the inters, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, it will be interesting
Rubens
how
is
the
still
Scuderia
stuck
play this
behind.
one out, who are ready to service their Brazilian maestro in the pit lane at the end of this lap. So lap 13 we'll see the first of scheduled pit stops in this Grand Prix. Definite 3-stop it seems from Rubens Barrichello in this one. As it'll also be interesting to see where he comes out in comparison to the cars behind. Of course, Montoya, Manassi and Sperrifico, Furman, all within that possible range of getting past the Brazilian as he now heads into the pits to get his first pit stop.
That was quite close. Could have ended another way.
Yeah, it
But,
seems like he's certainly harrying his car, and he's going onto the wets. The Brazilian of Barrichello onto the wet tyres on lap 13. 8.2 second stop. I think it's going to be fairly close between him and Montoya, who now exits the final corner. Barrichello now out of the pit lane, and Barrichello will rejoin in 5th place ahead of the Colombian. We'll actually see what the lap times actually have been comparatively. It seems that the wets have been closer as Massa's off. He's lost a number of places again. I think he's spun again at the chicane.
Yeah, this Red Bull. If it's the same chicane, the Red Bull seems to be a bit too loose on the rear for the drivers. Being held up a bit by
Over the curbs,
yeah.
Almost
Yeah.
an exact replica of what happened
Oh.
earlier. And Massa falls down to last of the running order, 21st place for the Brazilian.
I wouldn't be surprised if Massa spins out again somewhere and causes a collision either between him or two other people who are trying to avoid him. Yeah, Red Bull car philosophy, maybe just the Sauber that they took over, but yeah, it just seems to not fit the drivers. The drivers' way of driving. Their how do you say? Qu'est-ce que c'est? I don't know. Yeah, maybe we'll improve on other tracks. Maybe they have to bring in different car upgrades.
To be fair, though, you say it's a bit hard to cause a crash in last, Jake. Michael Schumacher is starting to catch up to the first of the back markers. There in the foreground was Felipe Massa in the Red Bull.
Red Bull are ready in the pits.
As Red Bull ready to service what I assume to be Mark Webber at the end of this lap. Current race order
Running fifth.
is...
Less than 3 seconds ahead.
I'll wait for the engineer to finish.
You're running sixth.
Michael Schumacher leads on lap 15, ahead of Raikkonen, Alonso and Panther, 2 McLarens and 2 Renaults, followed by Barrichello in 5th, Montoya 6th, Manassian and Sperrifico complete the points at quarter race distance, with Ralph Furman backing up the pace of Dams Lola Panos in this Grand Prix. He's in 9th ahead of Villeneuve, who completes the top 10, Schumacher and Genet ahead of Button, Damata and now Webber, who's into the pits for the
also
wet
putting on the
tyres. So De La Rosa gets ahead of him in that, as the Brabham of Pitsonia also into the box. That elevates Glock into 16th. Trulli, Wilson and Damata complete the 21, currently still in the race, as Coulthard and Weldon both crashing into each other, and the exit of the first chicane. A steward's report will be done after the Grand Prix on that incident between Coulthard and Weldon. As we also saw Trulli and Heidfeld also retire due to brake failures, as well as Sato, who was a victim of Heidfeld's mechanical problems down at turn 1.
It would be interesting to see what times they're setting on the wets now.
Seems that Montoya is not really up to the task of outpacing Schumacher, but Barrichello is faster than Alonso and the 3 cars in front of him precisely, as Villeneuve is... No, Ralf Schumacher, sorry, is into the box. I keep thinking that, oh, he's overtaking him. He must be, the other driver overtaken must be going into the pits now. The AI...
I feel like we are still in this transitioning period where I think both tires work. It's just that Schumacher is very good in these conditions, as I've said multiple times before already. But yeah, I think Barrichello being as fast as the cars in front of him makes sense, as the cars in front of him are the 1 McLaren of Raikkonen and the 2 Renaults, which should technically be slower than his car. So maybe it was...
Damata rejoins out the pit lane. There's contact between him and... Is that Schumacher, race leader? It is. So that was very close between the German and the Brazilian. Fortunately for the McLaren man, he's been able to get away from that without any damage to his car, as he starts to negotiate lap cards for the first time on lap 17.
Yeah, being lapped around here isn't easy. As the track is still quite thin or small in some areas. Yeah, it's still quite hard to overtake or letting someone overtake you. Now
I think Schumacher was held up in traffic, but as it currently stands, Rubens Barrichello fastest man on track on the wet tyres. So maybe the wets are starting to come into their own in this Grand Prix as the rain continues to pour here at the San Marino Grand Prix of 2004. Juan Pablo Montoya not quite up to the pace of Rubens Barrichello or the 4 at the front of the field, although he is pulling away from Nicolas Manassian by 3 tenths a lap. So yeah, a lot of the back markers as well. Damata, Webber, Pitsonia and Massa also all into the box for the wet tyres, as well as Ralf Schumacher, who has re-emerged in 13th position, as Schumacher has gotten through a couple more of the lap cars. He's got past both Rose Toyotas, and he's now got Timo Glock next in his sights, who is currently running in 15th.
Yeah, it seems the wet tires seem to take the hand. Seem to be better now, or at least since like lap 16, 17. A lot of drivers pitting for them. Will be interesting to see how the one-stoppers will work around this with probably pitting within the next 10 to 20 laps. Hopefully, Michael will get around this his countryman there quite easily, as he does. No issues there. That's good to see. I mean, in a race like this, having already seen what happened, could have been in another way. But now we see that. I think who will be the next one to pit? Has anything come up yet?
I don't think it has, no. But what we do know is if Michael Schumacher pits, then he could actually come out still in the race lead. Gap to his teammate Kimi Raikkonen in second is now 20 seconds, near enough, 19.6 to be precise. Yeah, Kimi Raikkonen about a second a lap slower. He has been throughout the whole of this first part of the Grand Prix. Alonso within touching distance really of Kimi Raikkonen, is definitely within overcut range if the Finn decides to box soon. The same could go for Giorgio Pantano in trying to get past his teammates, and maybe even Kimi Raikkonen if he stays out long enough. Barrichello, the first driver on the wet tyres, will actually check what lap times Barrichello is doing now, as he now makes his way towards the line. He sets a 1 minute 26.5, so I think Schumacher was in clear air there, and is faster than the McLaren man. Fernando Alonso, though, ever so slightly faster than the Brazilian in that previous lap. So it's basically equal at this current stage between the Ferraris and the Renaults and the wets and the intermediates, as Nicolas Manassian is told to box at the end of lap 19. This could possibly be a two-stop strategy for the Frenchman and could possibly put his teammate on the front foot in trying to get a point in today's Grand Prix as it currently stands, if he is on a one-stop strategy in this Grand Prix.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see that Manasseh is still in the points, still in the race, no mechanical problems or anything. Furman, I think Furman could also potentially get into the points, seeing that
Dams Lola.
there's...
Already in the pits.
not sure which one it is,
That'll be
but
for
whoever it is,
Manassian.
will probably... Okay.
So Manassian was told to come into the
Manassian-
box at the end of this lap, and is coming into the box at the end of lap 19. That's going to definitely... that could be 10th place, I reckon, on the rejoin for Nicolas Manassian, as Mark Genet about 25 seconds behind the Dams Lola panels at this current stage of the Grand Prix. And now the Frenchman is into the box for his first stop of the race.
Seconds ahead.
He will most certainly switch to the wet tires, I assume. And he does, yeah. Okay.
So wet tyres going on Manassian's car in this Grand Prix. He is now the 7th driver on the wet tyres. 9.5 second stop for him is going to see him, as predicted, re-emerge in 10th position. About 10 or so seconds behind Jacques Villeneuve, I think it is. So he's got some time to make up on those wet tyres if he wants to make them work. There's Montoya currently about 5 seconds now ahead of Riccardo Sperafika, so he's not actually been able to pull away that much from the cars behind, as Giorgio Pantano is closed up on his teammate because there is a Brabham in the way. Pitsonia seems to have held up Alonso a little bit and will also hold up Giorgio Pantano as they head through the final chicane. Pantano, though, dispatches of the Brazilian to get himself about 2 seconds behind his teammate in the battle for third. Kimi Raikkonen, though, I think is starting to lose a bit of ground on Fernando Alonso at this current stage of the Grand Prix.
Barrichello
Yeah, it seems pretty mellowed down at this current point of the race. A lot of drivers just getting their heads down in trying to set some good, consistent lap times, whether on the intermediates or the wet tyres. It'll be I think it'll be one that's won in the pits rather than on track today, with strategy at the forefront with the interchangeable conditions.
Will be interesting to see if the weather, if the rain intensifies even more in the next few minutes. Yeah, maybe the wets will become faster or even faster the next time, like next laps.
Yeah, Kimi Raikkonen continuing to lose time to his teammates Michael Schumacher at a rate of about a second a lap, even though Schumacher has navigated his way through quite a lot of lap traffic, it has to be said. About, 7 or 8 cars he's gone through at this point, has the German, so Kimi Raikkonen with his work cut out for him, and he needs to get through these cars fairly quickly if he wants to come out of this train ahead of him. Still in second place, of course, Fernando Alonso 2 seconds behind, and if Raikkonen is hesitant in getting past any of the back markers, then there is a possibility that he could move to second place as Michael Schumacher called into the pits at the end of lap 22. So he's going to be into the pits, what you would imagine for the wet compound tyres. But with a 24-second lead, it could actually be fairly close between him and Raikkonen, but I imagine he should still remain in the lead. Any chance of a red flag for conditions? Yes, but only if it gets to a point where drivers are struggling to stay on track. Everyone seems perfectly capable in these current conditions as Michael makes his way into the pit box for what we can now confirm to be the wet tyres.
Yeah, I think the times people went off track in this Grand Prix is not because of the rain, but mostly because of either ambitious lunches like with Coulthard or it's technical issues like with Heidfeld and Trulli.
Michael Schumacher then rejoining in the race lead by 6.5 seconds, so actually nowhere near as close as what we predicted it was going to be, as Pitsonia's engineer has stated no more rain in 15 minutes, so maybe we could be seeing dry conditions before the end of this Grand Prix. We'll have to wait and see on whether that is true or not, but Raikkonen now finding himself dug in traffic, as is the 2 Renaults of Alonso and Giorgio Pantano. Kimi Raikkonen there trying to get past the Jaguar of Cristiano D'Amata, but struggling to do so. This is allowing Fernando Alonso to greatly catch his Finnish rival. And Alonso's still not through on Cristiano D'Amata, and Alonso's right there. The gap between the two, rather than seconds, is just mere tenths, as Alonso swoops straight through on the Jaguar into the Variante Alta.
Button now pitting, probably also for wet tires. Certainly for wet tires. He will probably be able to climb up back to the position he's currently in, I think 12th. Now
he's under massive pressure from Ralf Schumacher though, in that position. As we'll see here, Ralf Schumacher less than a second away from trying to overtake Jenson Button in this Grand Prix.
Button also being called into the box. He's massively going wide there.
I think that's going to put pay to a potential overtake there for the German. But Alonso continuing to put the pressure on Kimi Raikkonen in this race for second position. Seems that the Renault is much more capable in the hands of Alonso in these slippery conditions versus Kimi Raikkonen in the McLaren. And Kimi Raikkonen into the box then at the end of this lap, and one of the Renaults is also going to be into the stop. So this could be a pit stop battle between McLaren and Renault to see who could possibly take second in this Grand Prix. We'll have to wait and see which Renault that actually is, as Kimi Raikkonen once again getting held up there by a Rose Toyota, as he, I imagine, will be heading into the pit lane at the end of this lap. He is into the pits, and it is Pantano into the box rather than Alonso. So Pantano going for the undercut on his teammate and is trying to match Kimi Raikkonen in this Grand Prix. This is now a pit stop battle between Renault and McLaren to see who could possibly take the final podium places. I imagine Alonso could possibly be within a chance of making an overcut work. Saying that, he could find himself dug deep in traffic. A much faster stop there from the McLaren boys versus the Renault sees Raikkonen re-emerge, still ahead of the Italian of Giorgio Pantano. Raikkonen now in 4th, 6 seconds now behind Barrichello. So the Ferrari man has made these wets work with his great strategy, although saying that, he does need to make what we estimate to be another 2 stops in this Grand Prix. As Alonso now getting greatly held up behind what I think is Justin Wilson in the Rose Toyota car.
Already in the pits.
I think Justin Wilson is going to be into the box at the end of this lap, so maybe not within his best interest to actually let Alonso go, considering he'll be just letting him go at the end of the lap. But it doesn't matter either way for Fernando Alonso. He makes his way through and ahead of the Briton, although he's lost multiple seconds in that exchange to race leader Michael Schumacher as well, as the car's behind. No more rain in 10 minutes, says Pedro de la Rosa's engineer over the radio. So multiple engineers now saying that there is a definite chance that it will stop raining at around half race distance, which could mean that we could possibly see, like I said, dry conditions before the end of this Grand Prix, which could leave a lot of strategies still wide open in terms of getting
As you say that, I see that
Is running fifth.
I think Wilson and Glock just split and both came out with inters again
Running sixth.
instead of switching to the wets.
Ah, yes,
So-
they did indeed. That's a good spot
Yeah.
there. So Justin Wilson out onto the intermediates. So maybe they think that the rain is starting to let up a little bit in their Grand Prix, and as such, Wilson re-emerging in 20th place on the intermediates rather than the regular wets that we have seen for many other drivers pitting onto.
Yeah, so either I'm not sure again who said that it will probably stop running in 15 minutes. So, but then the race engineer of De La Rosa is saying it's only taking 10 minutes. So either the rain is disappearing quicker than we think, or the rain is staying and people's
Already in the pits.
measurements are quite off.
If the rain is going to lighten up, then Alonso could be playing a blinder. This could be very much the case, especially with Michael Schumacher well within a pit stop of, Alonso well within a pit stop of Michael Schumacher. As it currently stands, 15 seconds is the gap currently between the German and the Spaniard. And Alonso, I don't know if he's gaining at this current stage, but Sperrifico now into the box for the Toyota team. We'll see what he puts on in terms of tyres.
He's also putting on the wet inters.
Yeah,
He's staying
so,
on the inters, I mean. Yeah.
So Sperrifico going from an intermediate to intermediate, 13.5 second stop on lap 27. That could indicate a one-stop strategy for the Brazilian. And if that's the case, then he's going to the end of this Grand Prix, or at least going to try to, if it doesn't dry out quick enough. I imagine for the Brazilian, he'll be hoping that it stays wet for the remainder of this Grand Prix. Manassian, as such, has actually been jumped by the Toyota in the pit stops. So this is not looking like a great strategy for Nicolas Manassian to try and score points in this Grand Prix as it currently stands, although we are yet to see we've only seen 2 mechanical retirements so far in this Grand Prix, and we're nearly at half race distance. Fernando Alonso, fastest lap of the race, so he's certainly gaining on Michael Schumacher, who is still out there on the wet tyres. So this could be
Yeah,
now
seems like-
Alonso's time to shine in this Grand Prix. Is gaining by, I think, about a half a second a lap. Let me just check 1 second. Yeah, 6/10 he gained on Michael Schumacher through that last lap. A 24-1 for Schumacher, 23-5 for Alonso.
Is running fifth. About
Well, yeah, the rain is indeed disappearing quicker than we thought, and now Alonso is making it a charge up towards P1, although it's still quite a bit ahead. Michael will have to pit again for Inters, so Alonso really playing the long game here. Now having to overtake lap the Jaguar there. But yeah, certainly a great strategy from the Endstone team there, leaving out Alonso in the wet with the Inters. Yeah, we will probably have to see how it develops. Maybe the rain comes back again, but I don't believe so.
Glock's race engineer there saying that rain will stop in 10 minutes. I believe De La Rosa's also said that a couple of laps ago, so there could be a little bit of an error in when the rain stops, but I imagine it will be stopping before the end of this Grand Prix, as Alonso continuing to claw down time to Michael Schumacher despite having to lap a car in that tour of the circuit. He's actually remained the same amount of distance away, 14.5 seconds to Michael Schumacher, as he now laps Pedro de la Rosa for the first time in this Grand Prix. 13th place man currently out on the circuit.
Jarno is running fifth. About 5 seconds ahead. You're running sixth.
Sperafico now falling under pressure from Nicolas Minassi, and that heavy fuel load now playing into the Frenchman's favour. But will he be able to get past is the real question. We've seen that the Toyota has often been the faster of the two teams compared to the Dams Lola Panos with their Cosworth power plant. And I don't know if Manasseh's actually going to be able to make it through. Of course, it pretty much ruined their strategy in Australia with Sperafico holding up Manasseh through a good chunk of that race. And it could be the same here today.
I think Manassiano just has to wait for a moment where Sperafico makes a mistake and then go through. But until then, it might still take a few laps, moments. I don't know. Could happen at any time.
Alonso, another fastest lap of the race. He's gone into a new second threshold of 1 minute 22 now for Fernando Alonso. Sees the gap to Michael Schumacher below 13 seconds now. So Alonso really taking chunks out of Michael Schumacher's lead. As it currently stands, he's going to be on the back of him, maybe within 10 laps.
Running fifth. About 5 seconds ahead. You're running sixth.
Alonso, of course, with one race victory to his name so far this season, as has Michael Schumacher. We've seen 4 different race winners in the first 4 rounds, with Schumacher, Alonso, Barrichello and Pantano all securing victories so far this season. It's going to be quite difficult from Raikkonen, I reckon, from here on in to try and make it 5 from 5, as Barrichello is going to be into the box on the end of lap 30. So this is the time for Barrichello to switch to the intermediates, you'd have to imagine, and he could actually be fairly close in rejoining, maybe somewhere between Pantano and Montoya, maybe closer to the former in that battle for a potential 5th place in this Grand Prix, or should I say 4th place rather, as now Barrichello makes his way into the box. Alonso sets another fastest lap of the race. Barrichello
Barrichello
with a decent
still
stop,
on
a
the
7-second stop there from the Ferrari pit crew. He's going to see him be fairly close
Dams Lola.
with Pantano. Pantano goes through, Barrichello goes through behind, and he will rejoin in 5th position, but on what we assume to now be the faster of the 2 tyres in this Grand Prix.
SS exiting the... Never mind, I was about to say he's exiting the pit here on wets, but that quickly changed back to interest. So the people that are still on the wet, are losing massive amount of time, and we'll have to see what the best option for them is to
Rose
come back
Motorsport.
in to change their tire compound.
Manassian's in then for the intermediates, as is Ralf Schumacher. They're both pitting from the wet compound tyres. 10.2 second stop there for Nicolas Manassian. I think that was an early stop for him in his strategy, which could suggest that he is going to the end of this Grand Prix. Fernando Alonso into the box. So he's in before Michael Schumacher, so maybe the pace from the Renault could be suggested by a potential fuel difference between him and the 5-time world champion. A 10.6 second stop for Fernando Alonso. He's going to see him rejoin in second, as Raikkonen is also into the box from the wet tyres, as is Giorgio Pantano. So I think all of the wet tyre users are now into the box. Raikkonen is going to be out of the box with just under a 10-second stop in 4th position, I think. Or is that Ralf Furman now coming down the main straight? It could be actually close between the McLaren and the Dams Lola panels. Raikkonen re-emerges just ahead of Ralf Furman, who is yet to stop in this Grand Prix, as is Jacques Villeneuve, as Pantano re-emerges in 7th, Montoya out in 8th. Just 2 drivers left out there on the wet tyres. What we know as the Rainmeister in the form of Michael Schumacher is yet to stop from his wet compound tyres, as is the Brabham of Antonio Pizzonia. We're yet to see 4 drivers make their stops in this race. Furman, Villeneuve, Genet and Pedro de la Rosa all yet to stop with just 29 laps to go in this one. We've got over half race distance in this Grand Prix, and it's looking likely that it could be a Michael Schumacher victory today.
I'm certainly not calling that off. Schumacher still 30 seconds ahead, and still seems to be on a 2-stop. I mean, he's not stopping anytime soon. I'm not sure how much fuel he has in there, but if he comes in again, it's probably until the end of the race. But now with the rain stopping, it will also be interesting to see if the track dries out. If we see now Ralf Furman getting held up a bit by the Rose Toyota there. Actually, all of these cars are being held up by Rose Toyota there. Probably Trulli in front, and then Wilson in the middle of the pack there. But yeah, it's not outrageous to say that. But Michael's pitting now. He's probably also going on to the Inters, probably filling up until the end. Pedro de la Rosa is also coming in, just in front of him. Staying on the Inters. Michael's coming out.
11.3 second stop there for the German. He should be able to fairly comfortably come out ahead of Fernando Alonso. Fernando Alonso only now just going through the final chicane. So Alonso about 10 seconds now behind Michael Schumacher, I believe, or somewhere around that. We'll see as he now enters turn 1. 8.7 second stop. So actually he's got a bit of an undercut performed on the 5-time champion. And I imagine, though, that Schumacher and Alonso's times would be fairly similar from here on in for the rest of the Grand Prix, although Alonso has shown a pretty brilliant pace on those intermediates late on in his first stint. So who knows at this current stage of the race. Michael Schumacher leads the way with 28 to go ahead of Fernando Alonso. He currently holds the fastest lap and is 8.5 seconds off the race lead. Barrichello trying to get a podium for Ferrari ahead of Raikkonen, who's currently holding off a light-fueled Ralf Furman yet to stop in this Grand Prix, as is Jacques Villeneuve in 6th, Giorgio Pantano currently in 7th, and Juan Pablo Montoya completes the points. Marc Genet is currently about 6 seconds behind this man right here. Ricardo Sperifico runs in 9th, and Manassian, who's pretty much been screwed over by poor pit strategy, it seems, in this Grand Prix. He's down in 11th ahead of Ralf Schumacher and Pedro de la Rosa. Jenson Button in 14th ahead of Glock, Trellier, Wilson, D'Amata, Pittonia, Webber and Massa. Still 21 cars left in this race. There's only 5 cars so far in this race. I say that.
Oh, Pizzonia's
and,
out.
Pizzonia has a gearbox failure. 6 retirements now in this Grand Prix.
Yeah, I was also about to say that. Only 5 retirements with halfway through the Grand Prix. It seems to be like a good ratio, but now it's 6. And I don't know how many more people will retire.
Ralph Furman's into
So-
the box, as is Jacques Villeneuve on the end of lap 35. So those intermediates have paved their way for their drivers to get into the points. And we'll see if they'll be able to hold it in the said position. 10-second stop there for Furman, 10.5 for Jacques Villeneuve, as Ralph Furman now re-emerges in 7th place. And he's going to the end of this Grand Prix, as is Jacques Villeneuve. He re-emerges just ahead of his teammate Riccardo Sbarafico, who's, I believe, been overcut by the pair of them. So it was actually Manassi and Sbarafico, Furman and Villeneuve, and it's pretty much completely turned on its head in that quartet, with now Furman at the front and Manassian right at the back.
Yeah, I think Manassian might be able to close up to the people ahead of him again. I do believe, though, that Furman is the only one to score points today for the French outfit. Barrichello goes fastest.
Does
At
indeed.
least puts out the fastest lap of the race so far.
Been gone for a
he
while.
will-
You just missed your Antonio Pizzonia gearbox failure. That's pretty much
Yeah,
it.
he was stuck in gear.
Alonso has also managed to gain a lot of time through the pit stops on Michael Schumacher. Marc Genet is actually yet to pit in this Grand Prix, as Cristiano De Matis has overtaken Justin Wilson. I think Wilson's just made a mistake there down at the final chicane, and now he falls under pressure from Mark Webber. The two Red Bulls actually right at the back of the field, so the rear stability of that car really struggling in these damp conditions, as we're going to replay of what just happened with Justin Wilson. It was on the back of his teammates Benoit Trulli. Oh, and he goes for a move that was pretty much not on there for the Briton. A bit of a rash error there from Justin Wilson, and he moves down a position behind Cristiano De Mata, and now is in 18th place. Meanwhile, Timo Glock and Jenson Button, not for the first time that these two have battled one another. It was Jenson Button actually on the attack in the Bahrain Grand Prix on Timo Glock, and it's really... We'll see once again whether the power, the pace of engine power versus the pace of downforce is the preferential one, as Nicolas Manassian is told to box. Surprisingly,
Again?
he's just boxed twice, probably within the last 12 laps.
As well?
So are they already going on to dry tyres?
Yeah, the dry tyres, yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see how this one plays out. A lot of
the rain has
teams
completely
being
stopped,
called
it seems. Yeah.
into the box. We'll
This
have
is
to wait
going
and
to
see
be
how this one plays
sort of
out.
a galore into the at the finish straight then, all of the boxing. Everyone is coming in. Everyone in the NAN is coming in. This is certainly going to cause a bit of a fumble, a bit of a kerfuffle down at the pit. Yeah, it will be interesting to see who will go where after this pit stop phase. But yeah, the rain has stopped. The track looks a bit more decent now than it was before.
Sounds like Honda's
Guessing
ready in the
most of
pits, as well as several others. And I think Ralf Schumacher will be the first one to box for the dry compound tyres. We'll go into the pits then with Ralf Schumacher, and we'll see whether what tyres he goes on to. Manassian also into the box. So Manassian, the first one into the pit lane. He's now in a pit battle with Ralf Schumacher, and they are going on to the dry compound tyres. Alonso also in. This could be the race deciding pit stop between him and Michael Schumacher. Manassian held up a little bit between the two. Manassian stays ahead.
8.9 for Barrichello. Those are not good stop times.
Alonso stays ahead of Rubens Barrichello. What about Kimi Raikkonen? He's into the box. Pantano's into the box. And the Jaguar's into the box between them, as well as the Opel. This is going to become pandemonium now in the pit lane. A lot of drivers now into the box. As we now see Giorgio Pantano into the pits. One of the few drivers to stay out there is Michael Schumacher, who's not yet come into the pits. He stayed out on the intermediates, as has the Williams of Juan Pablo Montoya.
Although Alonso's gap to Michael in front is already coming down. It's very slight. Yeah, he's coming down. As I just started saying, a tenth there. Probably another tenth by the next corner. Oh, it's 1.5 tenths. He's definitely needing some.
Schumacher staying out again.
Yeah, that's weird. Should have
So
come in. Should have quit for softs. But I
This
guess
could definitely close up the gap between Alonso and Schumacher now, as Alonso continues to close the gap to Michael Schumacher. Gap is just 22 seconds, and only now he's been called to come into the box.
maybe he's feeling content enough on these tires. I'm not sure.
And this pit stop as well, this could have been perfect for Ralph Furman. If he just stayed out a couple laps longer, he could have definitely been fighting for a top 5 in this Grand Prix, but unfortunately, that's not how strategies work in Formula 1. It was looking like it was going to run out of fuel before the dry tyres were going to arrive and be competitive. But Montoya into the box then from 4th position in the Williams. Ralph Furman will follow him in, as will Justin Wilson in the Rose Toyota. McLaren also ready into the box at the end of this lap. So we'll see how this one plays out for Michael Schumacher. Gap has remained at about 22 seconds between him and Fernando Alonso, so this could be more comfortable than what we were probably expecting to be between the German and the Spaniard.
Yeah, it seems like he was certainly... He still felt quite good on the inters, it seems. Yeah, it might be close. Looking at the map, Alonso's coming into the chicane in right about a second now, but yeah, Michael should have it.
He does.
And
There's
he does.
Alonso in the background, and Michael Schumacher retains his lead, but the gap between the front two leaders, less than 3 seconds at this current stage. With just 22 laps to go, the top 3 are now separated by less than 10 seconds.
Trulli and Massa still on the inters. Maybe they have had problems in the pits calling them in because their teammates already came in, or the drivers still feel good enough on these tires. Although the pace disadvantage they're having will not feel great. Trulli coming in now, probably falling down the order quite a bit.
Alonso still has to pit. I believe Alonso's done all of his pit stops now because he's just pit in that stint. So I think
it's
Alonso
now
was
22
on a...
laps.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Alonso stopped pretty late on, like around lap 27 or something like that. So he could have possibly been on originally a one-stop strategy in this race, and he's already made 2 stops in this Grand Prix.
Yeah, I might be wrong here, but I think Michael has led every lap of this race so far.
He has indeed, but if he wants that Grand Slam, he's going to have to take the fastest lap of this man right here, Fernando Alonso, who now sets a 1:20.1. He's continuing to close that gap to Michael Schumacher.
Yeah, I think Michael's not even going for the Grand Slam here. I think he's just trying to nurse it home. Just trying to be as fast as he needs to be to keep himself in front of the Spaniard here. Although, I think Alonso is pushing as hard as he can to get the 2.5 seconds eradicated. So, we will have to see how it goes along, what comes out to be.
And I think the only driver who actually stayed out the whole time and then boxed straight onto the soft tyres is Marc Genet, who, despite not making up many, I don't think he made up many places, I think maybe 1 or 2 on Manassin and Ralf Schumacher, but he is now just a couple of seconds away from possibly scoring his first points of his Formula 1 career, I think. I don't know if he's actually scored any points so far
I will
in
check
his
it.
F1
I
career.
think it might be Korea. He came in 99?
Yeah.
Yeah, he came in mid-season at Minardi replacing Esteban Tuero, it was, did not score a point there. Almost scored a point in Japan, he finished 9th there. Then Minardi, he stayed there for 2000. He was out for 2 races after a collision in San Marino, but he also did not score points there. He came close in Italy though, finishing 7th. Wasn't 2000 Monza like that Grand Prix with a lot of heavy rain? If I remember correctly, or was that 98?
I think that was 98.
Okay.
Yeah, that was Eddie Irvine's first victory in green, I believe. Jaguar's first victory in Formula 1 was the 2000 Italian Grand Prix, to my recollection.
About 10 seconds ahead.
Let me put it up again. It is, yeah. And then he won again in Japan. But we can't forget what happened at the Canadian Grand Prix that year, which was won by current Super Truck champion Mika Salo.
Was indeed the only victory so far for Honda since their return in 2000, in which Ralf Schumacher has not been able to emulate anywhere close to a performance where they could be in fight for maybe even points, never mind a podium or hell even a race win in that RA104. Ralf Schumacher currently in 12th position, meanwhile his teammate retired early on in the race with a collision with Nick Heidfeld. So, yeah. This man right here though, Ralph Furman, looking on course to possibly try and score his first points of not only the season, not only the first for the team as well this season, but also his first of his Formula 1 career. No points so far in his 22 starts, including this one in Formula 1. Who currently runs in 7th, about 10 seconds behind Juan Pablo Montoya. I think he's getting currently dropped by the Colombian, as I think Alonso is actually either getting caught in traffic or has made some form of mistake. I think he did get caught behind the Red Bull there, and as such the gap between Schumacher and Alonso has now extended once again to 3 seconds.
Yeah, a great performance by Furman. Still in 7th. He would have to lose around 11 seconds to not score points, but I think if his car holds on and the suspension doesn't fail, Furman is on for points this time around. Alonso losing out to Schumacher currently. I think he lost around 1 to 2 tenths, but now Michael's being held up by a Red Bull there. I think that's Massa.
Yeah, that's Massa in
it
the
was
Red Bull.
Massa. Now ahead of him, he has both of the Toyotas, Rose Toyotas, yes. He might have to maneuver around them at the same time. Alonso has to do the same.
Now
we see Michael coming up to that Rose Toyota. Alonso already passed the Red Bull there, so it's down to 1.6 seconds now. Now we have to see if the Toyota is getting to Michael quickly enough.
Schumacher gets through there on the main straight as Alonso continues to close in the gap. Gap is now 9 tenths between Schumacher and Fernando Alonso for currently the race lead, but with Justin Wilson in the middle, I imagine that that gap is once again going to extend between the two of them. He gets through though pretty easily.
Yeah, the backmarkers seem to have hurt Michael a bit more than they have Alonso. And now Alonso probably has the best chance to take the lead of Michael within, I would say, 2 laps. Seeing as there are more lapped cars in front. Probably the Glock is out. What has happened?
Oh yeah, Glock is out. So he's the 7th retirement of this Grand Prix. The German retiring from the Grand Prix with just about a quarter of the race distance left to go in this one.
I guess. Is it an engine failure?
Ah,
He's
rolled over down at the chicane.
Oh.
Clonk.
Clonk indeed.
And Timo Glock is out of this Grand Prix. Massive shame for him, as he was looking to possibly try and score maybe a top 15 in this Grand Prix. Yeah, this is race 5 of 18 in this 2004 season. And yeah, that's
Also, this should be the 10-year anniversary of, or I wouldn't call it an anniversary, but 10 years ago, the '94 San Marino Grand Prix took place, or rather it is the San Marino Grand Prix. Yeah. Very unfortunate weekend in Formula One. We see now with all of these groove tires and hands devices, the head protection around the cockpit. A lot of it was brought in after the events of '94 here around the Enzo e Dino Ferrari circuit. We now see Michael almost trying to lap Martinet, I think it is.
About 10 seconds ahead.
Barely getting through. Both of Fernando and Mark going wide. Now, Mark probably letting his compatriot through easier than the German.
He's actually let through Benoit Trulli there, who's a lap down on him. So, yeah, I imagine Janet's not going to be too best pleased with the Frenchman's driving in that scenario, as Michael Schumacher now with Cristiano De Massa in front of him. He's the man currently in 15th place in this Grand Prix. He gets through pretty easily there into the Villeneuve chicane, and Alonso is left to now try and get past the green car fairly sharpish, or he's going to lose the back of Michael Schumacher in this race. Gap is now 2 seconds between the German and the Spaniard, as Rubens Barrichello is, I think he's actually started to close in the gap to the cars in front, but then again he's got 3 or 4 cars to maneuver through before being able to be on the same piece of tarmac as the car in front. Kimi Raikkonen, I think,
has
is
lost
actually...
time.
Yeah,
He was around 10.5, 9.5 behind Michael. Now he's 11.5 behind. So maybe Michael has stepped up his pace a bit, or Rubens has stepped down on it.
Another battle that could possibly brew within the next, 15 laps, as we've got 15 laps to go, is Giorgio Pantano slowly reeling in the gap. Between him and Kimi Raikkonen is about 3 seconds between the McLaren and the Renault man, as Ralph Furman also started to come under pressure from Jacques Villeneuve's Toyota for 7th place in this Grand Prix. And never mind, Raikkonen's off! The championship leader is out of the race! Suspension failure there for the McLaren man is going to see him retire from a pretty comfortable 4th place finish. That's what we thought it was going to be. And Kimi Raikkonen, the 8th retirement in this Grand Prix.
He's not had the best of races, I think. A lot of strategy errors. But now this is just a very unwelcome end to his race.
Yeah, massively against him in terms of strategy it has been today. And that's just the icing on the cake, really. Suspension failure for Kimi Raikkonen. Did he actually predict Raikkonen to win the race? If he did, I missed that. If that's the case, then that is absolutely brilliant that he's predicted it again. As such, that's going to put Ralph Furman now up into 6th position and also put both Toyotas in towards the points. Marc Genet now 9th place. So he's got a good chance of possibly scoring points in the Williams. Michael Schumacher, fastest lap of the race, 1:19.6 here on lap 48. As Alonso just under a tenth slower than the German. It's not enough to be closing in the gap though, and in the clear air it seems that Michael Schumacher has just got that slight extra percent of pace over Alonso to hold him off, and what we assume to be until the end of the Grand Prix, unless he starts nursing problems of his own, in which Raikkonen has also presented to McLaren as a potential threat to Michael Schumacher's race win. If that's the case, then Alonso should really be turning the wick up in his pace, as the gap between the two of them remains at about 4 seconds. Rubens Barrichello now in the midst of lapping other cars, as Giorgio Pantano there is about 10 seconds ahead of Juan Pablo Montoya. He was actually pulling away from him at a decent pace, so he should be able to hold on to that 4th place, unless, like we say, other factors appear. Probably the closest battle right now that's any form of relevance is the battle between Villeneuve and Furman for 6th position, as Michael Schumacher puts in another fastest lap. Alonso, though, is turning up the pace. He's now faster than Michael Schumacher in the previous lap, so this could be now a race to the checkered flag between Schumacher and Alonso.
I'm currently looking through the chat, and Brad Beer has... The only thing he has said is that it's probably going to be a boring race and a McLaren 1-2, so make of that what you will.
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing that, actually. Well, I mean, he has indeed cursed a McLaren, any chance of a McLaren 1-2, so...
Also, it was certainly not a boring race, I would say.
Yeah, I feel like it's been... I don't think it's been an interesting race in terms of on-track action, but in terms of strategic craftsmanship, it's been a very interesting one to watch, as the rain has certainly thrown up some excitement in this Grand Prix, albeit we haven't seen all too much, like I say, on-track action in this one.
Yeah, it's just like Villeneuve is more gaining on the straight, but then again, Panos is faster in the corners.
Alonso again setting the fastest lap of the race at 1:19.5, sees the gap shrink to under 4 seconds between the German and the Spaniard. This could be close, folks, between Schumacher and Alonso for race victory today, as Alonso continuing to close in that gap for the race lead. 3.9 seconds is the gap between first and second place in this race. Although we do see currently on our screen a closer battle between Furman and Villeneuve, which is now for 6th place following Kimi Raikkonen's retirement from the Grand Prix.
Is running 4th, about 10 seconds ahead.
I will be right back. I'll be 1 minute.
Yeah. Villeneuve seeming a bit closer now to the back of that Panos. I think it will probably take him 1 or 2 more laps, maybe just half a lap, until he gets past Herman for 6th position. But ahead is, I think that's Button. Should be Button. Alonso going even faster, so he's certainly trying his best to come back to the back of Schumacher. Villeneuve is certainly hoping that Herman will be held up by the back marker there, so he can have a better opportunity to get past him.
I think Furman has done a good job here in holding off Villeneuve has not really come under too much pressure from the 1997 world champion, the gap remaining at about a second since the two re-emerged out the pits from their dry compound tyres pit stop. Meanwhile, though, for the gap for the race lead, it is continuing to shrink, as there actually is a Toyota of Riccardo Sbarifico that will be in front of Fernando Alonso, so that could probably suggest on why Alonso has been closing in the gap on Michael Schumacher in recent laps, although I think Michael's only just gotten past him in the past lap, so maybe, just maybe, Alonso does still have the advantage over Schumacher. 10 laps to go then here in San Marino, 52 down and just 10 more to go, and we are down to 3 seconds between Michael Schumacher and Fernando Alonso for race victory.
A screenshot has been sent to me that Brad Pitt indeed said that it could be Raikkonen that wins, so fair enough.
So Brad Beer once again doing his best to manipulate the entire championship season. So do you know, we should just ask him who will be world champion, and whoever he says last in the championship will actually win the championship. So if he says like Jolt Baumgartner is last in the championship, then Minardi will miraculously come back, dominate the rest of the season, and Baumgartner wins the championship. I think everyone would love to see a Baumgartner championship, but don't know if it's going to happen exactly so.
Right.
Advantage now Schumacher in these drying conditions, as the German now sets the fastest lap of the race. Alonso meanwhile had to delegate past a Toyota of Riccardo Sbarifico. The two of them will now start to progress towards this battle here, in which Ralph Furman has actually been heavily closed in by Jacques Villeneuve following the Jaguar that has intervened in their battle. Brad Beer's pulling the strings more than Bernie Eccleston. That is an amazing sentence, and I could not agree more. Furman's still trying to pull out a gap ahead of Jacques Villeneuve. I think he's just managing to do so. 10th by 10th, he's eking it out after the lap car that they had to negotiate. As now Ralph Furman is starting to pull away a little bit. See there, Jacques Villeneuve just a bit behind him. Gap's now beginning to extend between Michael Schumacher and Fernando Alonso for the race lead. Gap is now 3.8 seconds between the German and the Spaniard. And it's looking more and more likely that Schumacher will be taking home his second victory of the season, and also his second victory in a row. Rubens Barrichello's quickly also fallen off the back of the charging pair up front. The gap that was once 9 seconds after they all pitted onto the dry tyres has since doubled to 18, with Barrichello now nearly a pit stop behind Michael Schumacher in this Grand Prix.
Michael really has asserted himself today, not doing any major mistakes, and just keeping himself cool in the changing conditions. Seeing that Alonso is still on his back. He's probably just trying to firm it back there.
Just check. Was it a mistake or did he... I think he just got held up by the Jaguar there. So the gap that was 4 seconds and extending is now 1.7 seconds and increasing. So it's looking closer than ever now between Michael Schumacher and Fernando Alonso. But if recent momentum is anything to go by, then Schumacher should be able to pull away once again. Although Fernando Alonso, never say never with the Spaniard. He's looking forward to try and get his own second race victory of the season. And Sam Passes, thank you for putting it in chat. As it currently stands, Giorgio Pantano with this consistent, point scoring, despite retiring in France, the 4th place would see him return to the top of the championship table, ahead of Rubens Barrichello in 2nd, just 1 point further behind. Michael Schumacher would be 3rd ahead of Raikkonen, Alonso, and David Coulthard completing the top 6. So this could be, if that is the case, then that is very enticing for a championship battle as we head to, we're pretty much now a third of the way through this season.
Alonso is certainly hoping to somehow get the time that was lost back. Right there. What do you want to say?
I didn't say, by the way, but Ferdeberg, welcome into the chat. Welcome everyone who has joined us into stream today. If you want more information on how this works with the series, be sure to check out the Discord, where information comes out on there a lot earlier than well, on the streams, of course, as well as the returning 1994 series is back on Thursday afternoon at 6 PM GMT. So if you're excited to see that series return, and you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I believe my base livery is finished now, just pending the sponsors that we get to sign. Thank you, I feel welcome. No worries, Thomas. Schumacher now with Villeneuve and Furman in his sights, and if these two battle hard enough, then that could definitely invite Alonso into the fray for a possible last couple of laps snipe for race victory. Gap is just 1.7 seconds between Schumacher and Alonso, with just under 5 laps remaining. So anything is definitely possible in this Grand Prix, especially with these two now being the last lap cars for the leaders to now negotiate before the end of the Grand Prix.
I'm certainly surprised by Barrichello having fallen back that much.
About 5 seconds ahead. You're running 5th.
Janae is now up to 9th. So with anything happening, he could probably still score a point.
And now the gap between Schumacher and Alonso just over 1 second as they begin lap 59. 4 laps remaining in the 2004 San Marino Grand Prix. And Schumacher is looking to try and dispatch of Villeneuve and Furman ahead of him. And trying to, well, basically, if he gets past those two before Alonso does, then he's almost certainly got this race wrapped up in the bag. But as for now, Schumacher could fall under pressure from Alonso before the checkered flag.
This is
Massa's just got past Justin Wilson for 16th position, so it won't be a complete bust for Red Bull, who will beat someone in this Grand Prix. As there, Schumacher, a very daring move there on his ex-title rival. Villeneuve seems to be pulling ahead now and maybe defending in towards the Variante Alta. This is certainly not what the German was needing, as they've both gone wide. Villeneuve's nearly spun. There's contact between the two, and that's allowing Alonso to quickly close in the gap. Villeneuve's straight away allowed Fernando Alonso through. So maybe he doesn't want Schumacher to win this race. That was so close between the two ex-title rivals, Schumacher and Villeneuve. We'll actually get a replay of that one. That was so close to a just disaster for the 5-time world champion. Oh, there was contact. Somehow he's got away with that without losing his front wing. And if he did, then there almost certainly would have been strong words between the McLaren and the Toyota pit crews. The scenes, if that was the deciding factor of the race, my days, that would have been absolute Villeneuve right there. But with that incident, actually, it's allowed Ralph Furman to pull off into the distance and actually might have himself covered for 6th place ahead of Jacques Villeneuve.
Now Michael has to get past Furman in 6th.
I don't know if he'll be able to catch him in time, is what I'm saying. He's he's got 2 laps to go and he's got like 3 seconds to catch, so he might be able to do it. But yeah, Ralph Furman has got good pace right now.
Well, you have to remember the engine that he has at the back.
So at the end of this sector, or this chicane rather, he will now begin his penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher leads the way by just over 1 second ahead of Fernando Alonso. Barrichello in 3rd, with Pantano, Montoya, Furman on course to score his first points of the season, as well as Dams Lola Panos' first points. Villeneuve in 7th, and Sperrifico looking forward to his first points of his Formula 1 career also. Genet's looking like he's just going to miss out, as Manassian's poor pit strategy has put him on the back foot compared to his teammate. As actually, I said that he might not catch Furman before the end of the race. I may stand corrected, as now the gap between the two is very... Oh! Barrichello!
Oh!
Barrichello's out at Tosa on the penultimate lap! And Barrichello retires! On lap 61 of lap 62, he's heavy into the barriers there.
Oh, that really certainly does not look healthy. Yikes. At least Genet will have to can be happy about something. As
here we go. Suspension failure there. Unable to slow the car. And he goes into the barrier. Actually, not that big of a crash. Yeah. But Rubinho out of the race. His first retirement of the season, I think that is. And he retires with no points for Ferrari. A double DNF. And the Tifosi will be absolutely leaving in their droves after that one.
Yeah, not a good day to be a Tifosi. Yeah. I'm looking through it, but I don't think Barrichello has had any kind of failure yet, or a retirement.
And now, starting the final lap, Schumacher has just got Ralph Furman to negotiate. He gets through perfectly cleanly, so now he's got an open track ahead of him to start lap 62 of 62. And Michael Schumacher has been given driver of the day. I would disagree. I would say Ralph Furman deserves driver of the day. I agree with Gallifreyan in that regard. Alonso also in the top 3 as well. As has been stated in the chats, Marc Genet is now into the points. He's on course for his first points of his Formula 1 career. Ralph Furman's up to 5th. Sperrifico up to 7th.
I stand corrected. I just looked at it. Barrichello had a gearbox failure in Malaysia.
Oh, in Malaysia, yes, he did. I remember now. And now Alonso must negotiate Ralph Furman. Oh, I think it's going to be too little too late for the Spaniard to be able to do anything about Michael Schumacher in this Grand Prix. He now laps 5th place Ralph Furman, but it's all Michael Schumacher now as he enters the final couple of corners to take what has been a breathtaking victory here in San Marino. He got pole position. He took the fastest lap of the race away from Fernando Alonso in the past couple of laps, and now he rounds the final corner to take a race win, leading every lap, taking fastest lap of the race as well, a 1:18.96, and it's Schumacher that takes his second victory of the season and his second in a row. Michael Schumacher wins the San Marino Grand Prix of 2004. Alonso came close in second, and Giorgio Pantano should be able to hold on to another podium in this season. And as such, that's going to put Pantano into a clear championship lead ahead of Michael Schumacher, as Sampas has put in the chat. So we'll now see Giorgio Pantano round the final couple of corners, and he should be able to take a double podium for Renault. So a good result for the French team might actually put them back into the lead of the Constructors' Championship. Montoya with another good result in that Williams. He's leaving at the end of the season, but he's still putting in good performances. Ralph Furman gets Dams Lola panels on the board in 5th position. Fantastic result for him, and Ralph Furman in 5th, Manassi in 9th, and the new upgrades for the Dams Lola Panels team proving dividends. Jacques Villeneuve with more points on the board, with Sperafico scoring his first points of his Formula 1 career for Toyota, as well as Marc Genet picking up his first point since the start of his Formula 1 career. Manassi just misses out, with Ralf Schumacher completing the top 10. Who is that? Montoya's just had a massive crash, sorry. My days, what has just happened there?
Actually, that didn't happen beforehand.
Oh my god, he's had a brake failure on the in lap, and Montoya's had a massive crash there. Fortunately, he'll keep his 4th place, but very lucky indeed for the Colombian. Clearly, with expiring brakes on that car, as I was saying. Oh yeah, I've done. This crash doesn't count. I did pit lane glitch. Don't worry about that. De La Rosa in 11th, with Barrichello classified in 12th, Button 13th, D'Amata 14th, Trulli 15th, Massa 16th, Wilson and Webber complete the drivers who finished. We had 8 unclassified, with Raikkonen out with a suspension failure late on, Glock, Pitsonia, Coulthard, Weldon, Trulli, Heidfeld and Sato all retiring from the race. But it is Michael Schumacher that wins. Any thoughts on that race there, Benny?
It was certainly a great watch, I have to say. I'm happy for Dams or Panos or Lola, or whatever they want to call themselves, to finally put some points on the board, as well as Marc Genet getting his first points of the season.
Yeah, 3 new point scorers to the championship for this season, puts us up to 17, I think, for the total of this season. Join us next time for next week, same time, same place, 6 PM GMT on a Sunday, and the next round is the Spanish Grand Prix. Join us then, when we will have full coverage of qualifying and the race. That's going to be all from me in today's stream, and that's all from Benny as well.
See you.
See you later, guys.
Rock to the rhythm, to the rhythm, to the rhythm. Rock, rock, rock to the rhythm, to the rhythm, to the rhythm, to the rhythm. Rock to the rhythm, to the rhythm, to the rhythm. Rock, rock, rock to the rhythm, to the rhythm, to the rhythm. Rock to the rhythm, to the rhythm, to the rhythm. Rock, rock, rock to the rhythm, to the rhythm, to the rhythm. Rock to the rhythm, to the rhythm, to the rhythm. Rock, rock, rock to the rhythm, to the rhythm, to the rhythm. Rock to the rhythm, to the rhythm, to the rhythm. Rock, rock, rock to the rhythm, to the rhythm, to the rhythm. Rock to the rhythm, to the rhythm, to the rhythm. Rock, rock, rock to the rhythm, to the rhythm, to the rhythm. Rock to the rhythm, to the rhythm, to the rhythm. Rock, rock, rock to the rhythm, to the rhythm, to the rhythm. Rock to the rhythm, to the rhythm, to the rhythm. Rock, rock, rock to the rhythm, to the rhythm, to the rhythm. Rock to the rhythm, to the rhythm, to the rhythm. Rock, rock, rock to the rhythm. the rhythm.